Chapter 423. Meanwhile, the other 4 people were staking their lives to keep Chu Fei-ling busy. If one were to ask them who they hated the most, there would only be one person, Chu Yang. He's too hateful. This despicable man, this shameless bastard. Not only did he kill people, but he also deceived them. Moreover, he also humiliated them. They would rather die than to kill him. They would pay any price to kill him. This was the common wish of the remaining 5 people. As long as they could kill Chu Yang, kill this little bastard, it would be worth it even if the 5 of them died under Chu Fei-ling's saber. The saber light came whistling. You can't stop it. Sword Spirit looked at the incoming attack and said in a heavy voice, either you retreat, or I'll do it. Chu Yang snorted. Then, he turned around and flew back. Sword Spirit revealed a look of appreciation. This is the mentality of a powerhouse. He wouldn't rely on others as long as there was a glimmer of hope. Chu Yang wouldn't rely on Sword Spirit as long as he wasn't in a life-or-death situation. He would only rely on himself. He would only explode in a desperate situation. He would make the greatest progress in a life-and-death situation. Chu Yang wouldn't make any progress if Sword Spirit were to bear all the dangers. It would have a great impact on his path to becoming a powerhouse in the future if he were to develop a little dependence on Sword Spirit. Chu Yang's body drifted from east to west like a light smoke. Beyond the heavens sect's fleeting snow cloud steps were unleashed to the extreme at this moment. The black-robed second brother roared like thunder. He gritted his teeth and wished he could chop Chu Yang into meat paste. He swore that he wouldn't use the saber's edge to chop Chu Yang if he caught up with him. He would use the back of his saber to smash Chu Yang. He would smash Chu Yang into meat paste, and then eat him bite by bite. The incessant screams proved that his brother was being mercilessly slaughtered by Chu Fei-ling. The black-robed second brother resisted the urge to look back. My mission is to kill this little bastard. Kill. Kill. Little brother is in danger. Chu Fei-ling roared impatiently. Suddenly, a pale golden light erupted from his body. The saber light was like a white cloud in the sky encountering a hurricane. Layer after layer, it crazily surged up. Before the first wave had subsided, another wave rose up. The saber light shimmered and stretched on endlessly. This was Chu Fei-ling's ultimate skill, life and death saber art of reincarnation. This was Chu Fei-ling's self-created unique skill. Even the sword spirit in Chu Yang's mind was amazed by this move. The rolling sea of saber light engulfed the 4 heavily wounded bodies in an instant. Continuous blood-curdling screams resounded, and the 4 figures flew up at the same time with blood dripping from their bodies. Their bodies had already been torn into pieces in midair. The saber light surged and formed a bright white line. It blocked out the sunlight and shot through the sky at the speed of a meteor. Then, he madly rushed towards the direction where the black-robed second brother was chasing after Chu Yang. The black-robed second brother roared repeatedly. He could already feel the pressure behind him. He knew that his brothers were either dead or injured. However, this little bastard was as slippery as a loach. He had missed him by a hair's breadth several times. But, he had slipped away again. He fiercely roared, and an arrow of blood suddenly flew out of his body. He had used a secret technique to stimulate his own vitality at this moment. His strength had doubled in the blink of an eye. His big saber rolled up a gust of wind, and formed a huge saber flower. Then, he launched an indiscriminate attack towards Chu Yang within a radius of 300 feet. This was also his last attack. Chu Yang coldly snorted. He couldn't avoid it. His long sword automatically jumped out with a clang. He was about to launch the Calamity Sword technique in the blink of an eye. It seemed that a head-on fight was unavoidable this time. Suddenly, a long whistle was heard, and a saber light crazily pierced between the 2 men. A black-clothed man's silhouette stood firmly in front of Chu Yang, and blocked the raging waves that were surging towards Chu Yang. Chu Yang suddenly felt an inexplicable warmth in his heart. He looked at the tall and straight figure in front of him. It seemed that, no matter what difficulties or hardships he faced, this figure would be able to block them. Chu Fei-ling didn't have it easy either. He forcibly released his energy, and finally arrived at this moment. He immediately faced the black-robed second brother's saber light, which had doubled in strength. He shouted loudly, and his big saber transformed into a green barrier to protect himself and Chu Yang. Then, he shook his wrist, and the life and death saber and the reincarnation sea were launched again. A blood-curdling scream was heard. The black-robed second brother was sent flying into the sky by the saber energy. Then, he suddenly disintegrated in the air, and turned into a bloody paste. Puff, puff, puff. Chu Fei Ling's body swayed, and he finally stood firm. His shoulders, chest, and thighs were bleeding at the same time. In the end, this hasty attack still caused him to suffer a serious injury. If it weren't for saving Chu Yang, he could have calmly faced the enemy and fought until the end. Then, he could have killed these 7 people one by one, and he could have ensured that his body wouldn't have any scars. However, he couldn't control his outburst when he saw that Chu Yang was in danger. He didn't regret it. Finally, the smell of blood in the air slowly dissipated. Chu Fei Ling turned around, and the cold murderous aura on his body had been completely withdrawn. He looked at Chu Yang, and revealed a pleasant smile. "Little brother, are you all right?" I'm fine." Chu Yang only felt a burst of excitement in his heart, and he almost couldn't speak. He was also puzzled by his own reaction. Why was he so agitated today? "You're injured." Chu Yang suddenly felt a pain in his heart when he saw the flesh and blood on Chu Fei Ling's body. "It doesn't matter. This small injury is nothing to me." Chu Fei Ling sheathed his saber, and tied it around his waist like a belt. Then, he smiled plainly. Then, he took out a pill from his bosom, and was about to swallow it. He even smiled at Chu Yang. "I have this pill with me." Chu Yang forced a smile. Then, he suddenly realized something, and said, "Use my pill." He took out an incomplete version of the heavy pill, and handed it over to Chu Fei Ling. Chu Fei Ling stared blankly. He looked at Chu Yang's sincere face, and couldn't help but laugh heartily. He said, "Okay. I'll use your pill, little brother." Chu Fei Ling took it, and was about to swallow it when he smelled a strong fragrance. He felt as if his mind had suddenly become clear-headed, and his spirit had been greatly aroused when he smelled this fragrance. He couldn't help but be startled. This pill is absolutely not ordinary. What is the origin of this mysterious little brother? Not only can he kill a saber emperor with the cultivation of Sword King, but he also has such a miraculous pill with him. This pill is obviously a priceless treasure. Chu Fei Ling held the pill in his hand, and thought of his wife. She had been blaming herself ever since she lost her son 8 years ago. She had been depressed for 8 years, and had been depressed. She had developed a heartache over time. This pill, "My injury is only a flesh wound. It would be a pity to take it. Why don't I take it back with me?" Chu Fei Ling smiled somewhat embarrassedly. He took the pill and said, "Little brother, my injury is only a flesh wound. It will be fine after applying some external medicine. But, I have another use for this pill of yours. Haha, I'm sorry to say this, but my wife has an old heartache problem. I want to take this pill back for her to take." Haha, Chu Fei Ling was somewhat embarrassed. "He gave you a pill out of kindness to heal your injury. But, you want to hide it and take it back for your wife." Chu Fei Ling felt that it was somewhat unreasonable to say these words. "It's too shameless, so what?" Chu Yang waved his hand. "I'll give you another one." Chu Yang generously took out another pill and gave it to Chu Fei Ling. "How can I accept this?" Chu Fei Ling was somewhat flabbergasted. "Isn't this too generous? This is a panacea for healing injuries. How can you take it out one by one as if it's candy?" Chu Yang waved his hand, and said without any heartache, "Isn't it just 2 pills? If it's not enough, I have more here." To be honest, he didn't feel any heartache. He now had 2 kinds of miraculous pills in his hands. He had a lot of these incomplete heavy pills, and it wouldn't be troublesome to produce 8 or 10 of them. "Thank you very much," Chu Fei Ling solemnly thanked him. "This is the first time I've seen such a pill, even though I'm the leader of a clan in the upper 3 heavens. How can it be common goods?" Chu Fei Ling thought for a while, and still couldn't bear to eat it. He carefully put away the 2 pills. He applied the golden saw medicine on himself. It wasn't that he didn't want to eat it. His father was injured and bedridden. He needed to nourish his body when he recovered. However, this part could not be mentioned again. To be able to make the other party gift 2 medicinal pills, he already owed them 2 huge favors. Even if Chu Yang gave more, Chu Fei Ling would be too embarrassed to ask for more. Moreover, strictly speaking, Chu Yang saved me today. This means that I still owe him a life-saving grace. Chu Yang was somewhat speechless. You are really? I gave you 2 pills, but you didn't eat them? Chu Fei Ling smiled awkwardly. He was very embarrassed. The old handsome man's face was also somewhat red. Cough cough, my behavior is really a bit, but it's better than wasting them. Now that the Yi clan is dead, I don't have any threat in the upper 3 heavens. My injuries, why did they recover so quickly? After dressing up properly, Chu Fei Ling's wounds were also bandaged. Under Chu Fei Ling's flabbergasted gaze, Chu Yang rummaged through the flesh and blood of the emperor-level expert. He didn't care about the filth at all, and put away some things based on the principle of not wasting things. He was worthy of being an emperor-level expert. He had a lot of things on him. There were more than a dozen purple crystals. Chu Yang was somewhat satisfied in his heart. There are also a lot of elixirs. Now, I can recoup my losses. How can the elixirs on an emperor-level expert be ordinary? The two continued on their journey, but there were obviously more topics to talk about along the way. Well, Big Brother Chu, you must have something important to do in the upper 3 heavens. Otherwise, you wouldn't have attracted so many people to hunt you down. What is it? Chu Yang suddenly felt very awkward when he called out Big Brother Chu. He scolded himself in his heart. Damn it, what should I call him if not Big Brother Chu? Should I call him Uncle Chu? Fuck. I do have something to do. Chu Fei Ling's face was heavy. He heaved a long sigh. My father is injured. He needs to find elixirs to go back. Alas. Speaking till here, he suddenly patted his forehead. He couldn't help laughing and said, I'm really muddle-headed. We have been together for so long, and I have received many favors from you. But, I actually forgot to ask. Little brother, what's your name? Haha. Chu Yang's heart turned a few times like lightning. He finally smiled and said, it's a coincidence that we are actually from the same clan. My surname is also Chu. My name is Chu Yang. Your surname is also Chu. Chu Fei Ling was startled. Chapter 424. Your surname is also Chu? Chu Fei Ling was stunned. Was there such a coincidence? Yes, my name is Chu Yang. Chu Yang's heart trembled. He mischievously smiled and said, what a coincidence, right? What a coincidence. Chu Fei's heart surged. Could it be my son? She quietly released her aura to sense the purple crystal jade essence. But, she didn't find anything. She only felt the purple crystal jade in Chu Yang's pocket. She had just robbed Yi Ran Mo. She couldn't help but sigh in self-mockery. She secretly scolded herself for being greedy. How could he be her son? What wishful thinking. This young man was extraordinarily heroic, resourceful, and resolute in his actions. Most importantly, he had a kind of demeanor that could only be cultivated by someone who had been in a high position for a long time. He was definitely from a great clan, and his background was definitely not ordinary. I miss my son. But, I shouldn't have such delusions. My son has been abandoned in the lower 3 heavens since he was a child. I don't even know if he's dead or alive. Even if he's adopted, he won't be able to live a comfortable life. How could he grow up to be such a young hero? The two of them simply couldn't be compared. Thinking of this, Chu Fei sighed sadly. She was really going crazy from missing her son. What? It's hard to find the medicine. Chu Yang saw him sighing and asked with concern. It's not an ordinary difficulty. Chu Fei Zi looked at the raging fire mountain range in front of him, and said in a deep voice, if the raging fire mountain range doesn't exist. I'm afraid it doesn't exist. It's something that only exists in legends. Oh. Chu Yang was silent for a while. Then, he asked, what medicine? Is it that hard to find? Chu Fei let out a long sigh. He thought of the gap between his son and the young man in front of him. He thought of the mess that his family was in. He thought of how his brothers had killed each other. He thought of the tragedy in his family and how his wife was unhappy. Suddenly, he lost interest and said, let's look around. He actually avoided Chu Yang's question. He knew that since Chu Yang had asked this question, he was intending to help. But he already owed him so many favors, how could he still have the nerve to accept his help? Chu Feizhen was also a proud and unyielding person. How could he allow himself to owe someone a favor endlessly? Chu Feizhi accelerated and rushed into the raging fire mountain range. Chu Yang frowned and followed him in. He used his consciousness to analyze the situation and said, he must have come to the raging fire mountain range to look for a kind of extremely fierce fire attribute spirit medicine. This kind of medicine is extremely difficult to grow. So, I reckon that the possibility of finding it is not high. Chu Yang nodded and said, that's right. Even elixirs are mostly plants. In such a hot place, I'm afraid that even a person would be roasted dry in half a day. What kind of plants can survive? That's right. The sword spirit heaved a long sigh and said, I can see that you and he hit it off very well. You really want to help him. Why don't you let the sword point sense it? Who knows? Maybe you'll gain something. Yes. Chu Yang nodded lightly. In the next moment, the tribulation carving scraper silently appeared on Chu Yang's fingertips. The two of them circled around the raging fire mountain range for a while, but Chu Feizi's expression became more and more gloomy. Right at this moment, Chu Yang suddenly felt the tip of the tribulation carving vibrate. The carving tip was clearly pointing to the east. Chu Yang's heart moved. He said, let's go over there and take a look. All right. Chu Feiling nodded. The two of them moved as if they were flying. Chu Yang intentionally walked in front of Chu Feizi. They turned a corner, and a burst of faint medicinal fragrance suddenly came over. Chu Yang's spirit was lifted. But Chu Feizi's face exposed a disappointed look. Mysterious young jade essence and mysterious young jade can't emit such fragrance. The two of them walked closer. They saw that a piece of land had miraculously appeared in the middle of the raging fire mountain. There was a small hole in the ground. It was only as big as the mouth of a bowl. The medicinal fragrance was coming from this hole. The temperature here had reached a point where ordinary people couldn't bear it. Even a second-grade king-level expert like Chu Yang wouldn't be able to bear it if he didn't have the 7 shades cold energy on his body. What kind of medicine is inside? Chu Yang's eyes lit up. Chu Feizi smiled faintly and said, I'll go and take it out. Then, I'll give it to you. Then, he took a step forward. His palm emitted a purple saber light, and grabbed the hole. Hey! A large piece of iron-like purple-red stone was lifted up, and revealed a bigger hole. Chu Feizi's figure flashed into the hole like lightning. Chu Yang only heard a muffled groan from inside, followed by the sound of fighting. Then, Chu Feizi flew out. One of his hands was holding a lump of purplish-red soil. It was emitting a suffocating heat. On the soil, there was a lilac crystal clear Ganoderma lucidum. It was as if it was transparent. The strong medicinal fragrance was coming from this Ganoderma lucidum. The sword point vibrated rhythmically. It was obvious that it was very excited. Flaming purple crystal Lingji mushroom. The sword scraping spirit sighed and said, it looks like it's more than 3,000 years old. Its value will be immeasurable if it turns purple. Chu Yang laughed in his heart. He knew why the sword spirit had sighed. It was because this Lingji mushroom wasn't old enough. It was obvious that the sword spirit would have to use the sword scraping spirit to accelerate its ripening. Chu Feiling's other hand was holding a strange silver-white snake. It was as thick as a wrist. Its 7 inches had been cut off by him. There's such a monster guarding the elixir inside. Its skin and flesh are very strong. Chu Feiling smiled and handed over the purple crystal Lingji mushroom. Here you go, little brother. You don't want it? Chu Yang asked in astonishment. Isn't this the elixir you're looking for? Yes, it isn't. Chu Feiling sighed and threw the purple crystal Ganoderma over. Then, he skillfully skinned and deboned the silver snake. He took out its inner core and said, this is a rare star silver snake. Don't be fooled by its small size. It's at least a 7th grade spirit beast. Its scales are invulnerable to swords and spears. Moreover, it can avoid energy attacks. Its inner core is formed in a raging fire, so it has a little pure yang energy. It may be of some use to my father's injury. I won't let you down. Chu Fei Ling neatly peeled off the scales and gave them a simple treatment. Then, he handed over the snake's body to Chu Yang. This snake's meat has a fire spirit source. If you eat some every day, it can increase your cultivation. This snake's skin can also be used to make a small waistcoat to cover the important parts. It can be regarded as a valuable treasure in the Jianghu. Chu Yang didn't refuse. He knew that Chu Fei Ling wasn't being polite to him. So, it would seem estranged if he refused. Chu Yang received these two things. Then, he couldn't help but ask, this purple crystal Lingji mushroom is a priceless treasure. Moreover, it's in the Raging Fire Mountain range. I'm afraid that there aren't many elixirs like this. What kind of elixir are you looking for? Is it so difficult to find? Yes, I've given up on this Raging Fire Mountain range after seeing the purple crystal Lingji mushroom. Because I'm afraid that the purple crystal Lingji mushroom won't grow here. Chu Fei Ling heaved a long sigh and said, yes, my father is a monarch-level expert of the 3 Stars Divine Clan. The cold blood poison can only be treated with the mysterious young jade. Alas, it won't work here. It seems that I'll have to go somewhere else to try my luck. He only dared to pin his hopes on the mysterious young jade. As for the mysterious young jade, that's just a legend, okay? Chu Fei Ling looked at Chu Yang with some reluctance. He said in a heavy voice, yes, little brother. I'll have to say goodbye to you after we leave the Raging Fire Mountain range. You take care of yourself. Cold blood poison? Chu Yang opened his eyes wide. Mysterious young jade? Then, he suddenly slapped his thigh. Fuck. Why didn't you say so earlier? Chu Yang had never dreamt that the elixir that Chu Fei Ling had been looking for would be in his possession. Moreover, he had such a big pile of it. The sword spirit's face twitched in the tribulation space. He gnashed his teeth, squandering. I'm about to squander everything. Fuck. Do you think it's easy to get some mysterious young jade? The sword spirit sighed sadly as he looked at the hill-like pile of mysterious young jade in front of him. He had no choice but to take out 2 more pieces. Chu Fei's voice sounded in his mind, take good ones. Take the heart, and at least the size of your fist. Chu Fei Ling's eyes became moist. This bastard. He's too generous. He endured the heartache, and broke off a small piece from his heart. He felt as if his heart was bleeding. However, he didn't know what Chu Yang was feeling in his heart. I have to be cautious. The injured one is likely to be my grandfather's generation. I don't know what to do with my family background, but I can't just stand by and watch someone die. What's more, I don't even know who this person in front of me is. There's someone in his family who's against him. What if the one who's against him is his real father? Then, I'll be in for a tragedy. I've just returned to my family, and I'm already on the road to the underworld. Chu Fei Ling was so excited that his face had turned red. He looked at Chu Yang in disbelief. Little brother, you. He wanted to ask, do you have mysterious young jade? However, he was extremely afraid of being disappointed. So, he didn't dare to ask. However, his heart was beating faster and faster. In fact, it seemed as if it would jump out of his throat. Isn't it just mysterious young jade? Young Master Chu played it down and said pretentiously, I thought it was something good. Look at how worried you are. Chu Fei Ling almost fainted. Listen, what are you talking about? Isn't it just mysterious young jade? How can you talk like that? That's the most precious treasure of the Chongtian continent. Oh my god. Friend, you're saying, you have it? Chu Feizi asked cautiously. Yes, I have a piece of mysterious young jade here. I don't know if it's enough. Chu Yang turned his hand, and a pink and transparent piece of mysterious young jade appeared in his palm. It was fist-sized. The high temperature in the surroundings seemed to recede as soon as he took it out. It became warm and comfortable. Chu Feizi's eyes went wide in an instant. His eyes were fixed on the core of the mysterious young jade. He didn't even blink. In fact, he almost wept tears of joy at this moment. This is the life of an old father. Mysterious young jade core. All sorts of feelings welled up in Chu Feizi's heart. I only need mysterious young jade. But this little brother has taken out so many mysterious young jade cores. This is such a big favor. This is such a great friendship. Chapter 425. Are these enough? Elder brother Chu? Chu Yang had gotten used to calling him elder brother Chu. Yes, it's enough. It's absolutely enough. Chu Feiling's body trembled as he said, actually, one piece is enough. These are too much. Chu Yang disagreed and said, take them all. After all, this matter is of great importance. You can't be careless. It'll be troublesome if it's not enough. Chu Feiling excitedly extended his hand. But he suddenly retracted his hand and said with a stern look, little brother, this mysterious young jade core is a priceless treasure. I won't feel at ease if I take it from you. You name a price, and I'll buy it. He smiled in a somewhat ashamed manner and said, of course, no matter the price, it can't be compared to the true value of this mysterious young jade core. But please give me a chance. Let my heart feel a little better. You're treating me as an outsider. Chu Yang smiled and said, we've gone through fire and water together. And it was you who stood in front of me at the critical moment. You're making me sad if you still want to talk about money with such a friendship. Chu Feiling was obviously excited. His eyes were somewhat red. He said in a hoarse voice, thank you, little brother. He finally took the mysterious young jade core. He secretly made a decision in his heart, little brother doesn't want any reward. But I won't treat him unfairly. The most important thing for a cultivator is the promotion of strength. And purple crystals play a big role in the promotion of strength. I can't come up with a lot of purple crystals. But the Chu clan can still come up with a few thousand purple crystals. And I'll use purple crystals to help little brother promote his strength when the time comes. It's worth it to pay a few thousand purple crystals for this love. It's worth it. Chu Feiling already had the mysterious young jade core in his hand. But he still felt like he was in a dream. This problem that has perplexed the entire clan has been solved just like that. Moreover, he's the first person I've found in these 3 days. And he's the only person I've found in order to act as a guide. But he has the mysterious young jade. Chu Feiling felt that his luck was very good. Both of them walked out of the raging fire mountain range as quickly as possible. They then found a shady place to sit down, and rested for a while. Little brother, may I ask where your master? Chu Feiling was in a good mood. So, he was in the mood to chat. Little brother, you must be from a big clan, right? My master's surname is Meng. Chu Yang chuckled. A complicated look flashed through his eyes as he said, as for my clan, it's indeed not small. Ha ha ha, I guess so. If it were an ordinary clan, I'm afraid that they wouldn't have been able to cultivate such a talent like you. Chu Feiling sighed with emotion. He said enviously, little brother's parents must be very happy to have a son like you. He sighed sadly as he spoke. Obviously, he was thinking about his missing son. My parents. Chu Yang was somewhat absent-minded. He let out a hollow laugh. Well, by the way, little brother, you and I feel like old friends at first sight. We treat each other with utmost sincerity. We get along very well. I also feel that little brother is a dragon among men. I have an idea, but I don't know if I should say it or not. Chu Feiling suddenly became somewhat excited. What is it? Chu Yang asked in astonishment. Since you and I hit it off so well, how about we become sworn brothers? Chu Feiling said excitedly, of course. Little brother, your future is limitless. Today, I'll take it that you're out of my league. Chu Yang was dumbfounded. What? Become sworn brothers? You and I, can we become sworn brothers? Chu Yang swallowed his saliva with difficulty. He let out a hollow laugh. This isn't very good, right? You're an emperor-level expert, a big shot. Little brother, I'm going to get angry if you say this. Chu Feiling's face turned serious. He said unhappily, could it be that little brother doesn't like me? No. Chu Yang hurriedly waved his hand. I don't mean that. Do you think that I'm a burden? Chu Fei Ling pretended to be angry. No, no, no. Chu Yang stammered. His forehead was almost sweating. Great Master, can you not play with me like this? Oh God, what do you want me to do? Then, can you give me a reason why you don't want to become sworn brothers with me? Chu Fei Ling didn't give up. Chu Yang was at a loss. Oh God, what should I say? Chu Yang had lived 2 lives. But, he had never been so distressed. He had never been in such a dilemma. No reason. Then, what do you have to worry about? Chu Fei Ling smiled with relief. Besides, this is only between us brothers. It has nothing to do with your clan. Of course, if little brother thinks highly of me, you can go to the Chu clan of the upper 3 heavens when you have time. Chu Yang's face was full of black lines. He was speechless. On the other side, Chu Fei Ling's movements were very fast. He had already set up the altar. Then, he patted Chu Yang's shoulder and laughed. Brother, come. Chu Yang wasn't prepared. He was slapped to the ground and knelt down. He only felt a mess in his heart. But, he couldn't give any reason. This feeling was very strange. The heavens above and the earth below. Today, I, Chu Fei Ling, and Chu Yang are sworn brothers. Cough, sworn brothers. From now on, we will share our blessings. If my brother is in trouble, I will bear the burden. The heavens and the earth will bear witness. Chu Fei Ling's expression was solemn. Chu Yang had already fainted. He was in a daze. He didn't know what he had done. Chu Fei Ling saw that he was in a trance. So, he couldn't help but pat him on the back. Chu Yang was confused. He kowtowed a few times. Then, he stood up and saw Chu Fei Ling looking at him with gratification. Young Master Chu's mind was in a daze. He suddenly sobered up. This is bad. He couldn't help but want to cry. What the fuck is going on? Brother. Chu Fei Ling looked at him with concern. Your complexion is very bad. Ha 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 ha. Chu Yang didn't cry or laugh. He just grinned. Chu Fei Ling was in a very good mood. He smiled and said, Today is really the lucky day of my life. Not only have I found a good brother who is worthy of being friends with me, but I'm also indebted to you for your generous gift. I've also obtained the most valuable treasure in the world, mysterious young jade core, which can cure my father's illness. I've put down a big stone in my heart. He heaved a long sigh and said, I won't hide it from you. I haven't been so happy for 18 years. Alas, I can't bear to look back on the past. My heart feels like it's being cut by a knife. All sorts of feelings welled up in Chu Fei Ling's heart as he recalled his experiences in the past 18 years. He had always buried these worries in his heart. He had never had the opportunity to pour them out to anyone. He was very emotional today because he had found a brother. Moreover, this brother obviously had nothing to do with his clan. So, he couldn't help but want to pour out his grievances. Hey! Chu Yang's sluggish eyes turned numbly as he said, Don't tell me. You still have some hidden troubles? It's hard to say, haha. Chu Fei Ling laughed bleakly. He shook his head and sighed, I won't hide it from you, brother. My life has been worse than death for the past 18 years. My heart feels like it's being twisted by a knife every night. My soul feels like it's being torn apart. Chu Yang seemed to have sensed something. The corners of his mouth twitched as he said, I'd like to hear the details. I was just about to pour my heart out to you. Chu Fei Ling heaved a long sigh. This painful matter has been in my heart for the past 18 years. I've never forgotten it. He exhaled deeply. His eyes seemed to be looking at empty space as he said, I remember that my Chu clan encountered a great crisis 18 years ago. At that time, my child had just been born. His grandmother missed her grandson, so she invited us over. My wife and I took the child and stayed there for a period of time. Chu Yang's eyes widened. His throat made some noises. His heart was heavy as he repeatedly complained, Motherfucker, what is this? How can there be such a disgraceful thing in the world? I've become sworn brothers with my grandmother. This is really, Chu Fei Ling had already sunk into painful memories. A month later, your sister-in-law and I returned from my father-in-law's house with the child in our arms. But we were suddenly besieged by strong enemies on the way back. 2 of our guards were killed on the spot. They risked their lives to save us. Then, we fled, but the enemies chased us all the way. We couldn't return to the Chu clan. The enemies had dispatched a large number of people for that attack. If we returned to the clan rashly, I'm afraid we would be killed. Chu Fei Ling sighed. We had no choice but to hide everywhere with the child in our arms. But we were chased by the enemies until we had nowhere to go. Seeing that we were in imminent danger, we happened to reach the entrance of the double heavens. We had no choice but to bring the child to the lower three heavens. But the enemies chased after us relentlessly. They chased us down and fought several fierce battles. The two of us were no match for them at all. We desperately rushed out several times, and escaped all the way to the lower three heavens. It was a snowy night. Chu Fei Ling's eyes glistened with tears. Chu Yang seemed to have felt the chill of that windy and snowy night. He quivered and shuddered. That night, we were finally chased to the end of the road. I was seriously injured and didn't have long to live. My wife also suffered 7 or 8 serious injuries. Even her left leg was broken. Chu Fei Ling sighed sadly. At that time, we knew that it would be difficult for us to escape death. But, our child was still young. How could he suffer the same fate as us? But we were in the lower three heavens at that time. We had no relatives and it was late at night. We ran all the way. We didn't know where we were. We only knew that we were in the forest. Finally, when we saw a dilapidated temple, we were already on the verge of death. My wife and I had no choice but to put our child in the temple. Then, we wrapped a stone in our arms and continued to run. We wanted to lure the enemies away so that our child could have a chance to survive. Chu Fei Ling's voice was sorrowful and trembling. It was as if he had returned to that cold snowy night 18 years ago. Chu Yang, who was listening at the side, only felt a burst of bitterness in his heart. He couldn't help but feel a lump in his throat. 2 streams of tears fell down. The two of us continued to run for our lives. In order to divert the enemy's attention, we jumped down the cliff with that stone. Chu Fei Ling smiled bitterly and said, "But we didn't expect that there would always be a way out. We were only able to jump down a few hundred feet before we were stopped." It turned out that the vines there had grown for a long time and formed a big net, which saved us. Then, we found a rare treasure on the cliff, the snow lotus of elegance. Chapter 426. Snow Lotus of Elegance. Chu Yang muttered to himself unconsciously. Yes, it's Snow Lotus of Elegance. There are 2 flowers of Snow Lotus of Elegance, one black and one white. One is yin and the other is yang. Yin and yang complement each other. It can cure chronic diseases, cure terminal illnesses, increase martial power, and break through bottleneck. Chu Fei Ling said, "My wife and I each took half of it. Our injuries were healed in a short time. Moreover, our martial power improved greatly. Both of us broke through to 2nd grade Emperor level. It's a blessing in disguise." Chu Yang sighed deeply. A blessing in disguise, haha. Chu Fei Ling smiled bitterly and said, "My wife and I felt that our injuries were healed. So, we immediately rushed back. We killed more than a dozen enemies who were chasing us along the way. We didn't even have time to interrogate them. We rushed to that ruined temple, but the child was gone." Chu Fei Ling's voice was filled with grief. "The child is gone." Chu Yang muttered to himself blankly. He suddenly felt that the hatred towards his family and his parents for abandoning him had disappeared at this moment. Both of us went crazy. We kept looking for him. We even searched the nearby mountains. But we didn't find him. We returned to the upper 3 heavens after a long time. But that poor child has always been in our hearts for the past 18 years. It's as if a thorn has grown in our hearts. My wife missed him day and night. She looked haggard. Her martial power hasn't improved in the past 18 years. Instead, she fell from 2nd grade Emperor level to 1st grade Emperor level. She even suffered from chronic chest pain. The entire clan treated us as a laughingstock. My father-in-law and mother-in-law viewed us as enemies. All these years. Chu Fei Ling sighed sadly. All these years, how can the word bitter be enough to describe it? Chu Yang was completely dumbfounded. There was no doubt that this person in front of him, this sworn brother of his, was his biological father. Chu Feiling sighed and turned his head. But he saw that Chu Yang's face was streaked with tears. He couldn't help but be startled. Brother, what happened to you? Boo-hoo. I'm so moved. Chu Yang wiped his tears and revealed a smile that was uglier than crying. Chu Yang's heart was tangled. He now had a strong impulse to immediately rush up and hug him, and tell this man who had suffered so much all these years, I am your son. I am the son you lost 18 years ago. But, damn it. But he couldn't. Especially, the two of them had just become sworn brothers. Moreover, it was half forced by Chu Feiling. If Chu Feiling were to tell him the truth now, he would probably die of shame before he could even be surprised. Heavens, I forced myself to become sworn brothers with my own son? Who could stand such a thing? More importantly, I still have a heavy responsibility on my shoulders. I have the responsibility of being the master of Calamity Sword. I have to save Xiao Wu. If I return to my ancestry now, I will continue to unify the lower three heavens. And, I am afraid that my identity as the master of Calamity Sword will be exposed. Of course, he could trust his parents. But the problem was, the Chu family wasn't as united as before. Who knew who had ulterior motives in the clan? No matter who it was, if his identity as the master of the Calamity Sword was exposed, he would implicate the entire Chu clan and cause them to disappear. Acknowledging a son but causing the destruction of the clan was not a great joy, but a great sorrow. If he didn't give any reason for staying in the lower three heavens to develop, he was afraid that this old Wu and his mother would swallow him alive. At the very least, they would send a few experts to protect him. But, how could the experts of the Chu clan hide from the eyes and ears of the big dominant clans? Wouldn't this be akin to exposing himself? Chu Yang was very conflicted. Sword Spirit, is there a way to cure this chest pain? Chu Yang asked the Sword Spirit in his mind anxiously. Chest pain? The Sword Spirit snorted. What kind of illness is this? It's just a knot of longing that causes the meridians to be blocked. That's all. Then, can it be cured with the complete version of the heavy pill? Chu Yang asked expectantly. That's my mother. Even if I can't acknowledge her for the time being, I have to make sure she's fine. Big brother, there's no need for that, right? The Sword Spirit shrieked. The incomplete version of the heavy pill has already cured this problem to the best of its ability. Using the complete version of the heavy pill is a complete waste of God's gift. That's a treasure that can raise one's cultivation by a whole realm. You can't continue to squander like this. No matter how rich our family is, it can't withstand such torment. The Sword Spirit was so heartbroken that he was about to cry. This is the most precious medicine in the entire lower three heaven. It's not a cabbage on the roadside. Even if it's a supreme being level expert, it'll still have a great effect after taking it. Raise one's cultivation by a whole realm? Chu Yang's eyes lit up. That's great. It can increase my mother's ability to protect herself. The Sword Spirit slapped his own mouth in regret. My mouth is so cheap. Why did I say this? Raise one's cultivation by a whole realm. Why didn't you say so earlier? Chu Yang asked in puzzlement. That can only be used by Emperor-level experts and above. With your current cultivation, I can only store the medicinal efficacy after taking it. Otherwise, you'll turn into a pile of feces, the Sword Spirit snorted angrily. Chu Yang excitedly raised his eyebrows. Then, he suddenly thought of something. I have to help the old man improve a bit. Otherwise, I won't be at ease with him being surrounded by danger every day. Can I have 2 heavy pills? Chu Yang asked. Then, I won't have Moqing Wu's. The Sword Spirit rolled his eyes. This guy is addicted to squandering. Nonsense. Chu Yang said angrily, we have Jade Snow Spirit Ginseng, Mysterious Ice Jade Paste, Mysterious Young Jade Essence, and Vitality Spring Water. There are so many elixirs. Now, we also have Sea of Flame Purple Crystal Ganoderma. So, it should be easy to produce several heavy pills, right? How can it not be enough? The Sword Spirit was so distressed that his whole body shivered. Can I call you Lord Sword Lord? Lord Sword Lord. This is a great waste. This is an unforgivable sin. Listen to me. Let's do it. Chu Yang said in an overbearing manner. We can only produce one pill at most. We can only use a little bit of the mysterious ice jade paste and mysterious yang jade essence. The sword spirit bargained with a firm look on his face. He didn't yield an inch, otherwise, I'd rather die. Only one pill at a time. Minister Chu gave in. Is there anything else? The sword spirit saw that this guy was still hesitating to speak. So, he couldn't help but get angry. I have to give them 2 weapons so that they can protect themselves. Chu Yang said with a greedy face, you also saw that the saber is a little soft. It's not very useful. I've already prepared it. The sword spirit angrily said, I knew that you would trouble me the moment I saw you crying over there. So, I made them for you in advance. Take them. With a clang, he threw out a sword and a saber. You're a good person. Minister Chu said in a grateful manner, I would have given myself to you if you were a woman. I would have taken you as my wife. Get out of here. The sword spirit shivered and goosebumps appeared all over his body. He was a spirit, but he still felt his hair stand on end at this moment. There's one more thing. Can you make a few pills that can perfectly conceal one's strength, and prevent others from seeing through one's cultivation? I owe you. The sword spirit looked up and sighed. Chu Yang proudly withdrew from his sea of thoughts. He opened his eyes, and saw Chu Fei Ling in front of him. Chu Fei Ling was examining him with a concerned look on his face. Brother, wake up. Brother, what's wrong with you? What's going on? Why did my brother suddenly become absent-minded? I can't wake him up. Chu Yang quivered, and woke up. He awkwardly coughed a few times. Now that he heard these brothers calling him with such sincerity, Minister Chu felt uncomfortable all over. Even his crotch felt as if his balls were being pulled. I can't keep calling you like this. My lifespan will be shortened, father. Well, I'm thinking, your real strength should be at Saber Emperor grade, right? Chu Yang smacked his lips and said, why haven't you thought of breaking through to Saber Monarch grade? Breaking through to Saber Monarch grade? Chu Fei Ling shook his head and sighed. How can it be so easy to break through to Monarch grade? Brother, you don't know that breaking through from Emperor grade to Monarch grade isn't as simple as breaking through from Revered grade to King grade. It requires the world's essence energy, one's own cultivation, chance coincidences, and comprehension of the state of mind. None of these can be missing. Chu Yang nodded repeatedly and said sincerely, today, that, since you've acknowledged, that, little brother, no, that. I have a gift for you. Chu Yang didn't know what to say. How to address himself. How to address him. These are all problems. Moreover, they are big problems. Call him big brother? Call himself little brother? Chu Yang's legs cramped just thinking about it. Let alone calling him that. Yes, Minister Chu was used to being lawless. But, he didn't dare to be careless in this matter. Motherfucker. This is no joke. Why do you need a gift? As your elder brother, I should be the one to give you a gift for our first meeting. What you said really makes me feel ashamed. Chu Fei Ling waved his hand. He felt strange in his heart. Why is this brother of mine suddenly stuttering? He said sincerely, brother, good brother, what you've given me is enough for me to repay you with my whole life. I can help you break through to Monarch grade today. Chu Yang made up his mind and cut the Gordian knot. Chu Fei Ling was shocked. Eat this. Chu Yang took out a pill. Chu Fei Ling didn't have time to see what it was before he stuffed it into his mouth. It melted in his mouth. He felt a lingering fragrance in his mouth. His limbs and bones felt extremely comfortable. At the same time, a hot current and a cold current alternated in his dantian. They spiraled and rushed up in joy. At the same time, his head suddenly became ice cold. A sense of great meaning that he had never come into contact with suddenly rushed into his mind and surged in his mind. Chapter 427. At the same time, the meridians in his body suddenly opened up. Waves of tyrannical but warm spiritual energy of the world rushed into his body from every pore. It seemed as if a huge magnet had formed in his body, attracting the spiritual energy of the world to gather in his body. The impurities in his body were also discharged at this moment. Chu Feiling turned pale with fright. He hurriedly calmed himself down and sat down. He faced the sky with his palms facing the sky. He tried his best to digest this sudden great fortune. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This brother is really impatient. He stuffed it into my mouth. However, he also knew that this was purely out of Chu Yang's good intentions. If he had given it to him, he wouldn't have accepted such a valuable gift. This was a heavenly treasure that had never been heard of before. The spiritual energy of the world and the medicinal efficacy rushed towards the bottleneck of the monarch level like stormy waves. The next moment, Chu Feiling felt that the unbreakable bottleneck of the monarch level that he had attacked many times had suddenly loosened. He didn't have time to be surprised when another stormy wave of energy rushed over. The bottleneck of the monarch level was suddenly opened. Then, the spirit chi in his meridians was like a tide breaking through a dam. Cheering and jumping, the spirit chi fiercely rushed out, unimpeded all the way. Breakthrough? Breakthrough like this? The breakthrough that I've been dreaming of, came so suddenly and without any preparation. Then, Chu Feiling opened his eyes wide. The spiritual energy has become more and more turbulent after the breakthrough. It has become more and more powerful. It rushed through his meridians at lightning speed for 10 cycles. Then, it rushed towards the bottleneck of the second stage monarch level. Damn! Chu Feiling's face turned red with excitement. Isn't this too big of a surprise? The bottleneck of a second-grade monarch level expert couldn't withstand the impact of that surging spirit energy flow. Then, that spirit energy flow continued to spiral in his meridians. In fact, the medicinal efficacies were still violently rushing out of his dantian, and formed a new power. Chu Feiling was shocked to the point of speechlessness. Third stage, fourth stage. It rushed to the peak of the fourth stage before it finally stopped. Then, his dantian became calm again, as if nothing had happened. Chu Feiling exhaled a long breath of foul air. He stood up and walked 2 steps. Then, he shook his arms and his vitality gushed out like a tide. The impurities that had been forced out of his body turned into powder in an instant. He shook his body and all the powder fell to the ground. He had broken through. Moreover, Chu Feiling clearly felt that this elixir not only allowed him to break through, but also allowed him to comprehend some of the meaning of the Great Tao. What was even more strange was that it actually completely improved his spiritual realm. He had advanced by an entire realm. In other words, his state of mind had originally been at the Saber Emperor grade. However, it was now at the Saber Monarch grade. What did this mean? Chu Feiling was so excited that his whole body was trembling. This means that I only need to accumulate martial power, and I can smoothly reach the level of Saber Monarch. Furthermore, there wouldn't be any bottlenecks in this process. He turned his head and fixed his gaze on Chu Yang. His eyes were full of excitement. Suddenly, he clasped his hands and bowed to the ground. He then sincerely said, "Brother, I can't thank you enough for your kindness. Big brother, I really can't say any words of thanks." Tears flickered in Chu Feiling's eyes as he said this. Yes, this kind of great kindness was something that couldn't be expressed in words. Words couldn't express the weight of this friendship at all. Chu Yang was startled. He looked at his father's buttocks as he bowed in front of him. His scalp almost exploded. He hurriedly dodged to one side, and spoke incoherently. What's this for? What's this for?" Chu Feiling straightened up, and patted Chu Yang's shoulder. He took a deep breath, and forcibly suppressed the excitement in his heart. Then, he solemnly said, "Good brother." Chu Yang grinned, and laughed awkwardly. "Well, by the way, that was just food. It's not a gift." Chu Yang stretched out his hand, and pulled out a saber and a sword from his black robe. "This is for you." The saber's body was slender, and it shone with a cold light. It fell on the ground, and half of it was inserted into the extremely hard ground that had been burned by the raging fire for thousands of years. It flickered under the sunlight, and reflected thousands of rays of cold light. The sword's body was delicate, and its shape was graceful. It was also inserted into the ground. It was obviously tailor-made for a woman. How can this be? Absolutely not. Chu Fei Ling repeatedly waved his hands. His face and neck were red. If you continue like this, I'll leave. I don't have the face to stay here. His heart was moved to the point of no return. This sworn brother is really good. But, isn't this a little too enthusiastic? Why does he act like he's emptying his belongings and throwing out these treasures without any regard for his own life? Even if we're sworn brothers, you can't be so generous, right? Chu Fei Ling also wanted to take out something in return. But, when he looked at each item that Chu Yang took out, he sadly discovered that he couldn't take out anything. It's too embarrassing. These aren't for you. Why are you so anxious? Chu Yang rolled his eyes and said, this saber is for you. As for that sword is for, Chu Yang said for a long time, but didn't dare to say, it's for sister-in-law. He actually wanted to say, it's for my mother. But, he didn't dare to. It's for madam. Chu Yang sweated. Ah! You're even giving it to her. Chu Fei Ling sighed repeatedly, brother, you're too considerate. Then, his face turned serious, and his expression became resolute. Then, I can't accept it even more. What? You're looking down on me. Chu Yang simply threw a tantrum, either you take it away, or, don't acknowledge me as your. Minister Chu wanted to slap his own mouth a few times. Damn it, it's too difficult to speak today. I used to have a glib tongue, and I didn't bend my back when I challenged the world. But, today, I can't even speak a complete sentence. Okay. Chu Fei Ling sighed emotionally. Anyway, one doesn't feel itchy when one has too many lice, and one doesn't have to worry when one has too many debts. I already owe enough. So, I'll just owe more. That's right. I don't know if this sword, that person, will madam like it. Chu Yang obviously had a stuttering problem. You're still calling her madam. Chu Fei Ling rebuked, that's your sister-in-law. Minister Chu's forehead was full of sweat. He wiped it again and again, and his little face turned green. Brother, are you feeling hot? Chu Fei Ling asked with concern. Yes, very hot. The weather is really hot, hey, really hot. Chu Yang was in a difficult situation. The matter is done. I should go back. Chu Fei Ling looked at Chu Yang with some reluctance. He was somewhat anxious to return home. His old father was still lying in bed. How could he not be anxious? Besides, he couldn't stay here any longer. In front of this little brother, Chu Fei Ling clearly felt that he was shorter by a head. Always accepting other people's gifts, this isn't a good thing. It's really strange. Usually, you can't see the world's rare treasures and divine weapons in the upper three heavens. But, this time, you can actually bring back a lot of them. Wait. Chu Yang hurriedly stopped him. You haven't taken away the filial piety I showed to my mother. Why are you in such a hurry? Is there anything else? Chu Fei Ling looked at him in surprise. There's also this. Chu Yang took out a small bottle made of purple crystal from his bosom. Inside, there was a spinning elixir. This is a special elixir for treating heart colic. If you take it back, not only can it clear away the chronic disease, but it can also increase your cultivation. It's the same as the one you just ate. Cough, I wanted to give you more, but I don't have much left. Chu Fei Ling was really shocked. Another one? But this one. I must have it. This concerns my wife's health. I must take it no matter what. But this elixir is so precious. Please tell Madam that, there's no need to worry. She should relax. Her son will be found. Maybe her son is a young hero now. He's shining with heroism. Cough. Chu Yang said shamelessly. Besides, children and grandchildren will have their own blessings. This is also his life's chance. You should know that one can only rise above others after suffering. Maybe her son will be able to go home by himself someday. I hope so. Chu Fei Ling heaved a deep sigh and said, if my family's little dog can be half as good as you. If it can be 10 or 20% as good as you, my wife and I won't have any regrets in our lives, little dog. The corner of Minister Chu's mouth twitched. He must be very promising. Moreover, he must be handsome and confident. He must be handsome and elegant. He must be young and promising. He must have a demeanor and temperament. Young ladies will be dazzled the moment they see him. Young Master Chu's face was very red, but he still spoke very fluently. Young Master Chu kept hypnotizing himself in his heart as he spoke these words. I'm Tan Tan, I'm Tan Tan. Thank you for your auspicious words, brother. Chu Fei Ling carefully put away the purple crystal bottle in his bosom. He held a saber in one hand and a sword in the other. He also held the mysterious young jade core and 2 incomplete heavy elixirs in his bosom. He was ready to return home from a rewarding journey. Hold on. Chu Yang remembered, you must remember to keep these things a secret. Don't leak them out, I know this. Hee hee. Chu Fei Ling cleverly smiled. Wouldn't my brother be in endless trouble if someone were to find out about this? Don't worry. Only you and I will know about this matter. That's good. That's good. Chu Yang heaved a sigh of relief. Brother, I'm going back now. Chu Fei Ling tightly grasped Chu Yang's hand and shook it vigorously. You must not forget your brother. You must come to the Chu clan if you go to the upper 3 heavens. That's for sure, for sure. Chu Yang nodded repeatedly. Chu Yang wanted to shake his head whenever he heard the words brother and elder. There's also this pill, it can shield your aura after you take it. So, people won't be able to see your cultivation. Chu Yang looked at Chu Fei Ling as he walked away. Chu Yang was reluctant to part with him. Chapter 428. Chu Yang didn't know whether to cry or laugh. He threw himself on the ground and pounded the ground with his hands. Oh my God. Oh my God. You're finally gone. I'm dying of suffocation. What is this, big brother? Chu Yang cried, laughed, and screamed for a long time. He vented his emotions hysterically for a while. Then, he got up and looked at the surrounding scenery. He felt strange and lost. He suddenly felt empty in his heart. It seemed that he was missing something, but also seemed to have gained something. In short, his mood was extremely strange. After a long time, he sat up. He supported his chin with his hands, and was lost in thought. His mind was in a mess. It seemed that thousands of things were running through his mind at the same time. But, he didn't have any specific thoughts. You're finally complete, the sword spirit in his mind sighed. Congratulations, Tribulation Swordmaster. Your inner demons are gone. What's left is only some obsession. Complete. Chu Yang was stunned. He asked subconsciously. That's right. Being abandoned by your parents has always been your inner demon. Although you've never said it, but this deep hatred has always been in your heart. Perhaps you haven't realized it yourself, but every time you see someone else in front of your parents, you'll always feel jealous. So, you're jealous of everyone, the sword spirit said ruthlessly. You didn't accept Wu Qian Qian for this reason. This hatred can only be resolved by your parents. No one else can resolve it for you. If you keep this hatred, your inner demons will burn you to ashes when you reach the saint level and become a supreme martial artist. The sword spirit sighed in relief and said, but, even I didn't expect that your inner demons would be resolved so early this time. Well, sword spirit, do you think it's right for me to not acknowledge them now? Chu Yang had always been brooding. His parents had suffered for 18 years because of him. Even 10,000 heavy pills couldn't heal the pain in his mother's heart for the past 18 years. Chu Yang felt sad when he thought about their lives for the past 18 years. So, he was much luckier than his parents. Although he was an orphan, he had a master. Moreover, he had always been full of hatred for this matter. There was no doubt that the days full of hatred were much better than the days full of despair filled with love. That was because his mother's heart had been torn apart and bleeding for the past 18 years. How could an ordinary person endure that kind of pain? Yes, this is absolutely right. The sword spirit said with infinite certainty, don't think that you're unfilial because you didn't acknowledge your parents. In fact, you'll be the greatest unfilial if you acknowledge them now. Filial. Unfilial. Chu Yang muttered. Tribulation Sword Master. The entire celestial layer is a responsibility that you cannot abandon. Even if you don't want to, fate will push you to complete it. The sword spirit said slowly, you don't have the ability to protect your family right now. Even if you don't do anything after you return to your family, There will be people who will investigate the origins of the Chu family's first young master. You're a disciple of Beyond the Heavens sect. You're an orphan, and you've transformed into King of Hell Chu. Then, you've become a sword king from an ordinary martial artist within a year and a half. Everything will be dug up. When the time comes, when the great dominating clans look for the Calamity Sword Master, the first person they suspect will be you. The Sword Spirit said, even if they can't be sure that you are the master of Calamity Sword, they would rather kill 10,000 people than miss a single person. Because the Calamity Sword Master has too much influence on them. They definitely wouldn't mind destroying an innocent Chu family. Sword Spirit sighed softly, you haven't come into contact with the big clans. So, you still don't know how formidable and huge your opponents are. I only want to ask you this. Diwu Qingru is only a person sent by the Zhuge clan of the big clans. Is he difficult to deal with? Very difficult to deal with. Chu Yang nodded and admitted. His mood also became heavy. Diwu Qingru's fierceness can't be described with the word difficult. So, let's find the fourth fragment as soon as possible. Sword Spirit sighed and said, the only way is to find the fourth fragment of the Calamity Sword and improve your strength as soon as possible. Then, you can hide from the heavenly secrets. Let's take it one step at a time. Chu Yang pondered and said slowly, I want to know what will happen if I acknowledge my ancestors and return to the clan, and give up the responsibility of being the Calamity Sword Master. You can't give it up. The consequence of that would be, the great clans would destroy the Chu clan and kill all your family members. You would be forced to walk the path of the Calamity Sword Master in order to take revenge. These are two paths. You can choose one. The Sword Spirit sneered. Chu Yang was stunned for a while. Then, he spat and said, fuck. I'll just hand over the Calamity Sword. I won't be the Calamity Sword Master anymore, okay? You think I'll hand it over just because you said so? Sword Spirit snorted mockingly, why are you so capable? If you really do that, the Chu family will still have no way to survive. You should still be the Calamity Sword Master, unless you die again. Chu Yang's hair stood on end. He hung his head and said dejectedly, forget it. I won't acknowledge it first. The key is strength. Sword Spirit said lightly, if you have strength, you can acknowledge it. If you don't, you can hold it in. Hold it in for the time being, Lord Sword Master. Chu Yang was furious. He glared and said, if not, I'll beat you up. If not for the fact that you can't beat me, you'll beat me up. Sword Spirit laughed weirdly. Chu Yang had given away so many treasures today. Sword Spirit was very distressed. How could he not take advantage of this opportunity to hit him when he was down? Chu Yang coldly snorted. He patted his buttocks and stood up. He suddenly felt very good for some reason. He ignored Sword Spirit and walked forward in big strides. He was as light as a feather, as if he wanted to ride the clouds. He couldn't help but sing loudly as he walked. It was the song Jianghu rode. This journey, I won't look back from mountains of knives and seas of fire. This journey, I'll die on the Jianghu road. This journey, I'll laugh proudly at the world from now on. This journey, I'll go straight to the clouds without looking back. This journey, I'll defy the heavens from now on. This journey, I'll make fate reincarnate. This journey, I'll accompany you to dance and laugh at the world of mortals. This journey, I'll overturn the heavens. Chu Yang sang loudly all the way. He was like a gust of wind blowing across the ground. He saw a dense forest in front of him. Chu Yang sang excitedly, and rushed into it. Suddenly, a broken gong-like voice cursed, Awu. Dog aunt. Which pervert is that howling? Motherfucker, he disturbed Second Master Ji's mood of taking a dump. He must be courting death. Chu Yang was startled. Then, a meaningful smile appeared on the corners of his mouth. Then, he suddenly flew into a rage. Awu. Dog aunt. Motherfucker. Second Master Ji was so depressed about snatching his wife, that a punching bag was sent over. A thin guy came out of the forest with a strange cry. He was holding his pants while tying his belt. His nostrils were raised to the sky as he walked out of the forest. He stood in the middle of the road in an imposing manner. Then, he dragged out a long cry, Awu, which B*tch is it? Chu Yang snorted and slowly walked over. He put on a fake smile and said, "Oh my, isn't this Second Master Ji? Second Master Ji, you're really overbearing." "Awu, of course, of course. Second Master Ji has always been famous in these 3 days." Jimo said disdainfully with his nose up in the air. Then, he suddenly felt that something was wrong. It seemed that this voice was a little familiar. He hurriedly opened his eyes and lowered his head to look. Then, he suddenly screamed as if he had seen a ghost. His legs left the ground, and he spasmed as if he had been electrocuted. "Ah, my mother, why is it you? It's me. What's wrong?" Chu Yang crossed his arms and sneered sinisterly. "Second Master Ji, are you going to blame me for disturbing your bowel movements?" "Ayaya, ayaya." Jimo's face suddenly turned bitter. It was so bitter that juice could drip out of it. Even his nose and eyes were squeezed together. Then, he rolled his eyes and put on a flattering smile on his face. Then, he ran over while jolting his buttocks. He nodded and bowed. Then, he said flatteringly, "Oh my. I was wondering who it was. Your singing is so beautiful and moving. It's like the heavenly music lingering in the heavens. Ah, it's rare to hear such a thing in this world. Ah, I'm really intoxicated. I'm really intoxicated." He shook his head and made a circle in an intoxicated manner. Then, he continued to flatter, "I was so shocked that I hurriedly came out to greet this almighty person. I really didn't expect this." Jimo immediately put on an extremely shocked and admiring expression. Then, he said, "I'm so shocked at this moment. So, it's my big brother. My dear big brother. Oh tilde 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 big brother Chu, I really admire you. I admire you so much that I prostrate myself on all fours. My admiration for you is like a torrential river." Then, he put on a stern face and pretended to be unhappy. "But, big brother, you're too much. You actually hid your talent to such an extent. If I didn't happen to hear it, who would be so lucky to hear such a beautiful, deep, manly and heroic singing voice again?" Then, he rubbed his hands and ran over. He was extremely enthusiastic. "Big brother. Oh tilde 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 I missed you so much. Big brother, my dear big brother." Chu Yang's whole body was covered with goosebumps. He instantly shivered and his thighs started to spasm. He couldn't help but send a flying kick over. In the blink of an eye, Second Master Ji had already turned around and stuck out his butt with a flattering look on his face. "Big brother, please calm down. Kick here. I just wiped my butt. It's very clean." Hihi. Chu Yang didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He put down his foot. "Forget it, I forgive you. Motherfucker, you disgusted me to death." Jimo cheered and rushed over. He hugged Chu Yang's neck and cheered, "Wahahaha. Big brother, you're finally here. And, you've come at such a crucial moment. Right at the crucial moment when I'm about to snatch my wife. This is really timely. Awu. Dog aunt." Chapter 429. Let go. Chu Yang angrily threw him aside and said, "What's going on?" "Heh." Jimo immediately let go of his hands around his neck, but immediately hugged his arm affectionately. His face was full of excitement. Obviously, he hadn't woken up from the pleasant surprise of being reunited after a long time. He giggled foolishly for a while before coming back to his senses. "Boss, when did you come?" "I just arrived, not more than 4 or 5 days ago." Chu Yang glared at him. Chu Yang awkwardly tried to pull his arm away, but this guy was hugging him so tightly that he couldn't pull it out. Jimo hugged Chu Yang's arm like this, raised his face, and led Chu Yang inside with a silly smile. Step by step, Chu Yang was full of energy. "You haven't said it yet." Chu Yang struggled with all his might, and finally pulled his arm out. "Motherfucker," his skin had been rubbed red, "what do you mean by snatching a wife? I heard that you snatched Gao Sheng's wife." "It can't be." Yes. Jimo suddenly woke up as if from a dream, and remembered this matter. He jumped in front of Chu Yang, and raised his hands and shouted, "Awu. Dog aunt. Boss, I found my own spring." Chu Yang's face darkened. He couldn't bear to look at this guy's current appearance. He looked like a monkey in heat. "Found your spring?" Chu Yang thought of Huyen Arbo's tall and sturdy appearance, and then looked at Ji Mo, who was jumping up and down in front of him. He compared the size of the two in his mind, and couldn't help but feel dizzy. He swallowed a mouthful of saliva with difficulty. That Huyen? Miss? Yes. Ji Mo excitedly clapped his hands, and made a loud clap sound. He was beaming with joy, and his eyes were full of longing. Boss, I remember that time you said that whenever you see a girl you love, your heart will beat faster, and you will feel that the cold wind is intoxicating, the sun is bright, the world is colorful, and the flowers are more fragrant. I am. He let out a happy sigh. Ever since I met her, I've truly understood that love still exists in this world of mortals. Love. This is such a sacred word. Ah tilde 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 my love. Ah tilde 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 my spring. Ah tilde tilde tilde. Chu Yang couldn't bear it anymore. So, he kicked this guy's ass, and sent him flying. Get lost. Don't disgust me. Ji Mo let out a strange cry as he was sent flying. He then prostrated himself on the ground like a big horse. But, he quickly got up, and ran back with a drooling face. He then complained, Big brother, you can't dispel my stubborn pursuit of love. This is inhumane. Chu Yang looked up to the sky and sighed. Even if you use violence to obstruct me, I will still persevere. For the sake of my love, I will fight to the end. Second Master Ji clenched his fists and made a solemn vow. Sigh. Chu Yang shook his head weakly. That Miss Huyen, how is she? Ji Mo's eyes brightened when he heard the words Miss Huyen. His saliva almost dripped out of his mouth. Then, he spoke in a voice that was almost roaring. Beautiful. How beautiful. Every word he spoke caused his body to tremble violently. Chu Yang recalled again in his mind. Then, he hung his head weakly. Where is she beautiful? Everywhere is beautiful. Everywhere is beautiful. Ji Mo opened his eyes wide and gasped for breath. Then, he narrowed his eyes. His face was full of fascination. Obviously, he was thinking of Miss Huyen, who he yearned for day and night. Big brother. You don't know. Ji Mo narrowed his eyes and used a dreamy tone. He gestured with his hands. First, he spread his fingers and made two bowl-like shapes. Then, he placed them on his chest. This place is so big. Then, her two hands slid down from her chest to her buttocks in a gentle manner. She twisted her waist like a snake while caressing both sides of her buttocks. It's so round here. Chu Yang looked at him with disgust. He felt that this guy's actions were inconceivable. If it weren't for his strong willpower, he would have vomited a long time ago. Ji Mo pretended to be intoxicated. Also, I feel so safe when I'm with her. Chu Yang weakly shook his head and retched. Then, he turned around and walked away. Big brother Chu, why are you going? Ji Mo hastily jumped in front of him and blocked his path. He looked at him with hidden bitterness. This reaction of yours hurts a person like me who is immersed in the river of love. Chu Yang closed his eyes and said in a tangled manner, Second Master Ji, you know that I've been hurt by you since a long time ago, when you made your first expression and shouted spring, I'll chain. Ji Mo resolutely raised his hand. I'll change, okay. Chu Yang sighed and walked inside. What's going on? Tell me. If you continue to be so unruly, be careful that I don't join forces with the other brothers to beat you to death. Don't. Ji Mo panicked. He eagerly followed Chu Yang and begged for mercy. I haven't seen you for a long time. Don't mention how excited I am when I see you. Look at me, big brother. King level. Then, he curled his arms and bulged his muscles. He looked at Chu Yang with a beaming face and winked flirtatiously. Chu Yang was completely helpless. Motherfucker, why did I become sworn brothers with such a person? I've really met the wrong person. Be serious. Chu Yang couldn't bear it anymore and shouted loudly. The matter is. Ji Mo immediately followed Chu Yang's advice and told him the story of his romance. It turned out that after Ji Mo and Ji Zhu had led the troops to Kanglan battlefront, Grand Duke Ji Zhu had led the troops to fight a few battles. After that, he had occupied a favorable position and set up camp. He had begun to recuperate. Ji Mo looked at his elder brother drinking wine every day. He was drunk and slept. He was helpless when he woke up. Although Ji-mo was also very lazy, he was still more diligent than his elder brother. Besides, he couldn't stand the disgust of facing Ji-ju every day. So, he volunteered to go out to hunt spirit beasts and hone his martial skills. Ji-ju had drunk too much at that time. He said in a daze, "Then get lost," so, Ji-mo got lost. Second Master Ji had gone out alone. And, he had made a name for himself in Kanglan battlefront. But, he had come across Huyen Aoba's pink core when he had hunted a spirit beast not long ago. The two sides had quarreled over the spirit beast. So, they had fought. Second Master Ji had been besieged by hundreds of beautiful women. And, he had been defeated and captured. Ji-mo had looked up at Chu Yang in embarrassment when he had said this. He then smiled in shame. "Big brother, I've lost face for you. I was captured by a group of women. But, those women were really tough. Motherfucker, they were all good men, motherfucker. Continue." Chu Yang's face had darkened. He frowned and shouted. "Yes, yes." Ji-mo repeatedly promised. He wiped his sweat. Then, he continued to speak. Huyen Aoba didn't like Second Master Ji's lazy appearance after he had been captured. So, she wanted to teach him a lesson. She didn't want to do anything to him. She only wanted to beat him up and let him go. But, Second Master Ji was heroic and unyielding. He didn't stop cursing for a day and a night. All the women of the Huyen clan, even the hens, had met with bad luck. Huyen Aoba was tall and sturdy. She looked even more manly than a man. But, she was still an unmarried maiden. So, she was the real deal. Therefore, she burst into anger. She rushed to the place where Ji-mo was being held, and beat him up ruthlessly. However, Second Master Ji had become more and more energetic. He had been roaring non-stop. He had been beaten black and blue all over his body. But, he hadn't shown any mercy. Miss Huyen was also panting because of exhaustion. But, Second Master Ji suddenly begged for mercy at this time. He even offered a condition: "I'm thirsty. I won't curse as long as you give me enough water to drink." Chu Yang smiled when he heard this. "I wouldn't have given him any water if it were me." However, Huyen Aoba also felt very apologetic for beating the dignified second master of the Ji clan. So, she saw that Ji-mo had the tendency to admit defeat. So, she wanted to take advantage of this situation to get off the donkey. So, she gave him some water to drink. She didn't expect that after Ji-mo drank some water to moisten his throat, he would start cursing even more fiercely. His throat that had just been moistened was extremely loud and clear. Huyen Aoba thought that she was as intelligent as a man. But, she was tricked by this guy. So, she became angry out of humiliation. So, she tortured Ji-mo even more. But, Second Master Ji didn't care what she did. "I'll curse you as long as you don't cut my tongue. I'll hit you if you let me go." However, Ji-mo was the second master of the Ji clan. Huyen Aoba didn't dare to kill him. So, she could only beat him viciously. But, the more she beat him, the fiercer Ji-mo cursed. The two of them were actually wasting time. In the end, Huyen Aoba still didn't let him go. But, she admired this man's stubbornness to the point of prostrating herself in admiration. How many of these pampered and spoiled sons are like Ji-mo? Her fiancé, Jiao Sheng, who had been engaged to her since childhood, didn't even dare to take responsibility. He directly ran away. So, the two parties involved were also confused. So, they suddenly stopped beating and cursing. Then, Huyen Aoba began to treat Ji-mo's injuries. Ji-mo felt dizzy. He didn't care if others beat or cursed him. But, when others treated him well, he felt numb. He felt dizzy and enjoyed the beauty's grace for a few days. Then, the two of them unexpectedly fell in love with each other. That day, Second Master Ji was enjoying the great beauty Huyen's service. He couldn't help but feel dizzy and said, "It's so good. Whoever marries you in the future will be really lucky. You're also capable and good-looking. Moreover, you give people a sense of security." He didn't expect that Miss Huyen would unexpectedly reply, "Do you want this kind of luck?" Then, Ji-mo said, "I couldn't ask for more." After saying that, the two of them were startled at the same time. They thought at the same time, "Damn, this matter is feasible." Then, Miss Huyen talked about her engagement with Gao Sheng. After Second Master Ji heard it, he waved his hand heroically and said, "Damn it. Don't worry. I'll do him. You just wait to be my wife." As a result, Second Master Ji raised his voice and shouted, "There's trouble, and it's big trouble." Chapter 430. Young Master Gao Sheng of the Gao clan had always been dissatisfied with this marriage. In fact, he didn't hesitate to rebel against his clan, and went to the lower three heavens to hang out with Diwu Qingru. He didn't want to accept that he had such a fiancée. Ji Mo had taken a fancy to Huyen Aobo. Moreover, both of them were happy with each other. So, Gao Sheng should have felt relieved from a heavy burden. At least, he should have unloaded a heavy burden. However, the fact was very wrong. It was one thing to look down on one's own fiancée. It was another thing to not want her. But, it was unacceptable to have someone else snatch her away from him. Especially, this marriage involved the alliance between the Huyen clan and the Gao clan. The alliance would have ceased to exist if this marriage failed. Huyen Aobo would have followed Ji Mo. So, the Huyen clan would have had to form an alliance with the Ji clan. Moreover, the Gao clan and the Ji clan had never seen eye to eye. So, wouldn't this create two powerful enemies? Moreover, young Master Gao couldn't afford to lose face. So, the entire lower three heavens was talking about this. This is too awesome. Second Master Ji Mo has snatched Gao Sheng's fiancée. It's Miss Aobo of the Huyen clan. What kind of fucking rumor is this? The 8 characters haven't been set yet. Moreover, she's only his fiancée. But, young Master Gao's head has been covered in green grease from time to time, his clan is in danger, and his reputation is in danger. Moreover, this is a great humiliation. This is unbearable. Gao Sheng became angry. He shook his head and issued a statement. "I don't want her. But, she's still my fiancée in name. What's the matter with you, Ji Mo? How can you let go of the humiliation you've inflicted on me? You must clarify the facts in front of the heroes of the world. You must apologize to me. Moreover, your Ji clan must compensate me for the damage to my reputation." Ji Mo obviously wouldn't agree. So, both sides were in a deadlock. But, don't forget that there were many onlookers. Most of the onlookers wished for the world to be in chaos. Therefore, booing sounds came from everywhere. Everyone fanned the flames, and said that these two people were going to have a decisive battle. However, an extremely crucial person appeared at the most critical moment. This person had reversed the entire situation. He was a person who wished for the world to be in chaos. Luo Kudi. This second young Master Luo publicly stood out to support Ji Mo. Moreover, one day, after getting drunk, he loudly shouted in a restaurant, "What? This Gao Sheng really doesn't know how to appreciate favors. Ji Mo taking a fancy to your wife is giving you face." This bastard was still unwilling to give up. He was simply asking for a beating. If he dared to raise any more unrealistic delusions, Big Brother would be the first to stand up and slap him in the mouth. No matter what, they had to respond to Ji Mo's decision to pursue pure love. So, they did not hesitate to beat Gao Sheng until he became a pig's head. Luo Kudi's words caused the entire Jianghu to explode. Luo Kudi was the newly promoted king-level expert wolf sword. Moreover, his influence in the Luo clan had also risen along with his selection as one of the top 10 experts of the younger generation. His words proved that the Luo clan supported the Ji clan. Not only was the Gao clan furious, but even the Luo clan's people were also furious. This was clearly not the Luo clan's decision. The family hadn't even come up with a decision yet, but second young Master Luo had already chosen a side on behalf of the family. Then, Meng Luo Gong of the Meng family stood up to support Gao Sheng. But then, Dong clan's Dong Wushong made a strong appearance. He waved his dark saber, and made his position clear to the world: "We support Ji Mo." Li clan's Li Xiong too had always been hot-tempered. He hated evil as if they were his personal enemies. He heard that Gao Sheng's wife had been snatched away. Moreover, the snatcher was extremely arrogant. So, he became hot-headed and confronted Dong Wushong. Therefore, There were already large clans involved in this matter. Jiu Du Xing appeared at the critical moment like a dark horse. He coldly questioned the world, "Who dares to snatch my brother's wife?" Jiao Sheng's wife was snatched away because he was a good-for-nothing. "Why do you want to get involved?" The three heavens boiled over. Jiu Du Xing was the representative of the younger generation. So, his old rival Tu Qian Hao naturally joined the Li clan and Jiao clan's camp without any hesitation. He threw out a sentence with a clear stance, "I will deal with Jiu Du Xing." The three heavens thoroughly boiled over. The 8 great clans had agreed that the two sides would decide the ownership of the beauty on Mount Dingjun of the Kanglan battlefront on a certain day. The 8 great clans would each send out 2 people to fight with the other side. The last battle would be Ji Mo against Jiao Sheng. This was originally a drama of 2 aristocratic clans fighting for affection. But it unexpectedly swept over the entire 3 heavens, because Duke Ao Xieyun, Duke Xiedan Qiong, Duke Oyu Du Xiao, Duke Missouri Tian, and Duke Yun weren't willing to stay silent. So, they all joined in. Anyway, there was nothing to do in the 3 heavens. The 3 Stars Divine clan had also retreated for the time being. So, how could these men be willing to stay silent if they didn't stir up some trouble? However, these 4 men had remained silent. Moreover, they had joined forces to set up a big gambling house. They were betting on who would win between Ji Mo and Jiao Sheng. They could place a bet as long as they were interested. It didn't matter how big the bet was. The subordinates of the Dark Bamboo also took advantage of this opportunity to set up an underground betting house. Duke Yu oversaw the heroes of the world with disdain. As a result, the 3 days were in an uproar. There was still half a month left until the day of the war. The heroes of the world would converge on Mount Dingjun at that time. It would be incomparably lively. Moreover, the Black Devil clan, a clan of assassins, had also begun to move out. Many assassination targets would appear here. After all, they were all money. Ji Mo and his brother had already begun to set out for that place. They had arrived near the Raging Fire mountain range on the 2nd day of their journey. Duke Ji Mo had a sudden urge to go to the toilet. So, he found a village and went inside to relieve himself. But, he bumped into Chu Yang when he came out. Ji Mo's narration of the matter had come to an end. Chu Yang's entire body twitched as he listened. His stomach cramped. Is this even possible? You guys agreed to meet there. Chu Yang's heart warmed up. He hadn't expected that his brothers would participate in this farce. Everyone is heading towards Mount Dingjun. We've agreed to meet at the foot of Mount Dingjun. However, we'll surely bump into a few people along the way. They'll either be friends or enemies. Ji Mo laughed in a carefree manner. Well, is there any news about Rui Butong? Chu Yang asked. I heard that a spirit beast has appeared in the ice and snow wilderness in the far north. Many 3 Heavens King level and Emperor level experts have already lost their lives to this spirit beast. The 3 Stars Divine clan has temporarily retreated. So, this spirit beast has become the biggest threat. Stealing God, Thieving Ghost, and the others have already rushed there. Many other people are also rushing there. We've gathered our forces this time because of this reason. So, we'll all go there together after this matter is over. Ji Mo's eyes were somewhat fascinated. Big brother, it's a spirit beast. It'll be very cool if we can catch it and use it as a special guest. Yes, it'll be very cool. It'll turn around and swallow you whole. Chu Yang nodded. However, he was thinking about the 12 influential figures of his previous life: Black Devil, Dark Bamboo, Lone Guest, Poison Spirit, Tianji, Li Xiong Tu, Black Saber, Qian Hao, Xie Gong, Meng Luo, Viburnum Flower, Tian Buru. Now, there were 12 of them. Moreover, they were also involved in this matter. Only 3 mysterious figures had been assassinated: young Black Devil, the representative of Black Devil, Jun Shizhu, the leader of Dark Bamboo, and Tian Buru. It's really a grand occasion. The 2 men chatted as they caught up with the Ji Clan's team. Then, Chu Yang discovered that there was a carriage in the Ji Clan's team. It was being pulled by 8 fine horses, and was moving forward steadily. My elder brother is inside. Cough cough, my elder brother doesn't want to walk. Ji Mo introduced the carriage in a somewhat embarrassed manner. At this moment, a lazy voice came out of the carriage. Second Master Ji, you've come back from taking a dump? Elder brother, we have a distinguished guest. Jimo's face darkened. A rustling sound came out of the carriage. Then, the curtain of the carriage was lifted. Jimo vigorously jumped to the side at lightning speed. However, Chuyang didn't know that. He was still waiting for Jimo to introduce him. But, the carriage's curtain was lifted, and a strong smell of feet suddenly blew over. Chuyang choked, and his stomach started to churn. In fact, he almost vomited. His facial features became distorted. Jimo laughed on one side. He took pleasure in Chuyang's misfortune. Then, he saw two big and smelly feet stretch out a hand. Then, Grand Duke Jiju appeared outside the carriage. His hair looked like a chicken's nest. His lapel was half open, and a tuft of black hair was exposed on his chest. His trousers were rolled up, and his two hairy legs were exposed. Then, he got down from the carriage. This is. Jiju looked at Chuyang, and blinked. He felt that something was wrong. So, he stretched out his hand, and pulled off a piece of booger from the corner of his eye. This is my big brother. Jimo jumped up, and waved his hand to command, you guys, get out of the way, get out of the way. Don't block, blow the smell here, I am Chuyang. Chuyang reluctantly revealed a smile. Hello, hello. Ayaya. Jiju enthusiastically held Chuyang's hand, and shook it repeatedly, the famous brother Chu. Ayaya, Chuyang was speechless. He felt that his palm was slippery and sticky. Jimo looked at his big brother speechlessly. Big brother, when did I tell you? I clearly didn't say it. So what if you didn't say it? Jiju said casually, since I am your big brother, I will be famous tomorrow. Chuyang lowered his head speechlessly. Jiju chatted for a while, and quickly slipped back into the carriage. The wind outside is strong, and I need to take care of my skin. The carriage's curtain was closed. Chuyang hadn't turned around yet. He felt that there was still a smell lingering around him. He looked around, but didn't find it. He raised his hands and smelled them. Suddenly, he turned his head and retched. His hands were full of the smell of feet, my big brother's habit. Jimo said embarrassedly, he likes to scratch his feet. Chuyang retched again. He lifted his foot, and kicked this bastard to the side. Then, he snatched a water bag, and fiercely scrubbed it a few times. He looked at the carriage with hatred. Jimo's big brother is really a genius. Damn it. Damn it. Mo clan, backyard. Mo Qingwu went back to her room. She put a few gold coins into her pocket. Then, she tilted her head and thought for a while. Then, she untied the bow on her head and put it in her bosom. Then, she thought for a while. Then, she took off her red clothes and changed into a green one. Chapter 431. Leave the clan. This was Mo Qingwu's persistent wish for more than a year. Especially after the marriage proposal a few days ago, Mo Qingwu had completely lost hope in her clan. She couldn't be protected here. She could only be used as a tool. Over the past year, Mo Qingwu had been naively hoping that her father would change his mind and that her clan would be kinder to her. After all, it wasn't my fault that my 3-yin meridian was destroyed. I was the victim. I didn't want the clan to nurture me like before, but, please at least treat me as a child of the clan. Even when the clan was nurturing me, I didn't offend anyone. I greeted everyone with a smile. Everyone praised me for being obedient. Why are they ignoring me now? She had been hoping for a year, but all she got was despair. The marriage proposal of the Meng clan had extinguished the last bit of light in Mo Qingwu's heart. She wanted to leave here. Leave here and go to Kanglan battlefront. Brother Chuyang's brothers are all there. I just need to find one. I will wait for Brother Chuyang there, but I have never gone out by myself. This route needs to be carefully planned. Mo Qingwu spent a few days asking around. No matter what was in the house, she wouldn't take it away. First, it belonged to the Mo clan. She didn't want to take it away. Second, if she took it away, she was afraid that she would be discovered immediately. Even her most beloved scabbard was left at home. Everyone in the Mo clan knew that this was Mo Qingwu's most beloved treasure. As long as the scabbard was still there, Mo Qingwu wouldn't disappear. She thought for a long time and tried her best to think thoroughly. Regarding this matter, she had been pondering in her little heart. She didn't discuss it with anyone. She took one last look at the room and the scabbard on the pillow. Then, she walked out without any reluctance. "Mother, I want to go out and play." Mo Qingwu looked at Madame Mo. "These days have been so boring." "Good. I will immediately send someone to accompany you." Madame Mo was pleasantly surprised. Her daughter had been more and more depressed and silent these days. She was also worried. Now that she finally proposed to go out and play, she could take it as a distraction. At least her mood would be better. "There's no need for that. I'll just fly a kite in the nearby grassland. Then, I want to go to the Wild Goose River to look at the river water and play with the water. While I'm at it, I want to see if I can catch any fish." Mo Qingwu pretended to be light-hearted and smiled. "Naughty," Madame Mo said angrily, "you are already a big girl, yet you still want to play in the water and catch fish." She muttered to herself irresolutely for a moment before saying, "All right. Go, don't forget to come back early." "It's okay. I have a few copper coins with me. I can still buy some things." Mo Qingwu took out a dozen copper coins and shook them. "Haha, go ahead." Madame Mo did not take it to heart. Then, "Mother, your daughter will leave now." Mo Qingwu looked at her mother and said softly. It never occurred to Madame Mo that the words "mother, I'm leaving" meant that her daughter was saying goodbye to her for a long time. She only stroked her daughter's hair and said sadly, "Go and relax. Xiao Wu, some things can't be forced. You have to understand the family." Mo Qingwu lowered her head. No one could see that the last bit of light in her eyes was quietly extinguished. "Understand the family? You mean sacrificing me, right? I understand the family, but what should I do?" She lowered her head and thought for a moment before walking out. Behind her, Madame Mo sighed softly. It was because of her poor aptitude that she was betrothed at an early age. She thought that her daughter was born with 3 yin meridians and would have a happy life. She did not expect that her daughter would have the same fate as her. Mo Qingwu walked out of the small courtyard briskly. She raised her small face and greeted everyone she saw. She smiled sweetly and walked out. She walked out of the Mo clan's gate. When she walked out of the gate, she even hugged the 2 stone lions at the gate for a while. She jumped on the lion's head and tiptoed to look at the house. The guards at the gate smiled faintly. "Miss is already 11 years old and tall, but she is still so naughty. Let's go." Mo Qingwu waved her hand. Under the guard's smile, she turned her head and ran away briskly. The moment she turned her head, Mo Qingwu's eyes were a little red. She bit her lips hard, trying her best not to cry. Then, she raised her head and looked at the morning sun that had just risen. The sunlight shone on her hair, turning it into a light golden color. She walked briskly all the way to the grassland behind the Mo clan's residence. Mo Qingwu held her chin and looked at a few 8-year-old children playing on the grassland for a while. Then she walked all the way to the east and walked to the Wild Goose River. She leaned on the river and looked at something for a while. No one saw that she had smeared something on her face at this moment. Her originally elegant and cute little face suddenly turned black. She saw a small boat coming from afar. There were a few people standing at the bow of the boat, looking at the scenery on both sides of the river with their hands behind their backs. Mo Qingwu then jumped down and jumped onto the riverbed. She first looked at the people on the boat and felt a little relieved. Then she waved her hand vigorously. The boat stopped and an old man walked out. He had a square face and big ears. His hair and beard were all white. He looked at her with amazement. "Little girl, I want to go home." Mo Qingwu's little mouth flattened and her eyes were red. "My house is right there, just follow the river." "Grandpa, can you give me a ride?" "I'll give you money." As she spoke, she took out a pitiful amount of silver and looked at the old man pitifully. Mo Qingwu knew that one shouldn't show off one's wealth. "Poor little girl, did you get separated from your family?" The old man sighed sympathetically. "Come on up, a little girl like you doesn't need silver." "Thank you, Grandpa." Mo Qingwu obediently bowed and briskly boarded the boat. She hid her small body in the cabin. "My home is in Liuhe town. which is 200 or more than 100 kilometers below us. Mo Qingwu blinked her eyes and innocently said, "Daddy was doing business, so I followed him out to play. However, I followed a monkey and couldn't find Daddy in the end, Liuhe Town." The old man was obviously a very kind old man. Yes, this was also the reason why Mo Qingwu dared to board the boat. "Next time, don't run around. There are so many bad people. Poor little girl." The old man sighed and patted Mo Qingwu's head. "Give the little girl some food. Are you hungry?" "Yes." She nodded timidly. The old man was just an ordinary businessman and didn't take this matter seriously. Every time before Mo Qingwu ate or drank, her little hand would intentionally or unintentionally reach into the bowl. On her finger, there was a thin and ordinary-looking ring, the poison testing ring. Although she was young, she was extremely careful. If she fell into someone else's trap, she would never see Brother Chuyang again. Mo Qingwu secretly looked at the Mo clan's planes which were getting farther and farther away from her cabin. Her eyes were fixed and she bit her lips. Home used to be the place she was most attached to. But now, she had to leave. Mo Qingwu would no longer exist in the Mo clan. "Mother, take care." When they arrived at Liuhe Town, Mo Qingwu politely bid farewell to the old man and went ashore. She disappeared into a willow forest with a wave of her hand. The old man watched her go with a reluctant look on his face. In this short period of time together, he was already full of love for this well-behaved little girl. "Sir, this young lady has been very vigilant this whole journey." The guard walked behind him and reminded him, "Don't worry about it. A little girl is outside, so it's normal to be vigilant." The old man stroked his beard disapprovingly and said with a smile, "If only this old man had such a granddaughter." He let out a long sigh as he spoke. Mo Qingwu found the market in Liuhe Town and bought a set of grey men's clothing. Then, she changed out of her clothes, put on a hat, and dyed her face a bronze color. Her thin and weak body that had not yet started to develop instantly turned into a thin and ordinary-looking man. Then, she asked around and found a mule and horse company. She spent 10 taels of silver to hire a carriage. She ate and lived in the carriage and headed east. 3 days later, Mo Qingwu got down from the carriage and bought a horse to pull the carriage with a piece of gold. She mounted the horse and galloped away. Her small figure slowly disappeared into the horizon. At this moment, she was already more than 1,000 miles away from the Mo clan. She was very careful along the way. She had thought about everything hundreds and thousands of times in her heart. Unexpectedly, she was scared but not in danger. However, from now on, she had to travel thousands of miles to the Kanglan battlefront. She was at a loss on this long journey. She did not know where her future lay. She also did not know how many dangers a child like her would encounter on this journey. Spirit beasts, wild beasts, villains, robbers, thieves. She only knew that she had to go to the Kanglan battlefront. That was her only hope. In her previous life, Mo Qingwu also ran away from home because she was forced to marry. In this life, she still walked on the same path. However, in this life, she ran away 2 years earlier than in her previous life. There was another difference. In her previous life, she did not even have the goal of going to the Kanglan battlefront. After leaving the clan, she found a place to hide. Moreover, her heart was filled with despair. But in this life, at least she had hope and a goal in her heart. At this time, the Mo clan was already in chaos. Mo Qingwu had disappeared. She did not return that night. Madame Mo felt strange. Together with Mo Xingchen, she went to Mo Qingwu's small courtyard to check. When they opened the door, they saw that the room was in order. When they opened the bedroom door, they saw that the tattered scabbard was still as usual. It was hidden under the pillow like a treasure, half of it exposed. The two of them were relieved. After all, the surrounding hundreds of miles was the Mo clan's territory. Nothing would happen to Mo Qingwu. But not returning for a night, something was not right. The next day, they went out to inquire and slowly found the riverside. Finally, they confirmed that Mo Qingwu had run away from home. Mo Xingchen was furious. Chapter 432. What are you waiting for? Mo Xingchen roared, and the entire Mo clan began to move. Generally speaking, where could an 11-year-old girl run to? Even if he ran for more than 10 miles, it wouldn't be that bad, right? Even if he was from an aristocratic family, running a few hundred miles, at the age of 11, he should be considered very awesome, right? Therefore, the people of the Mo clan were very relaxed in the beginning. They didn't take it to heart. But everyone's faces darkened after 3 days of continuous searching. The entire Mo clan's territory had been thoroughly searched. But Mo Qingwu was nowhere to be found. Mo Xingchen roared furiously. Great Elder Mo Wuxin was expressionless as he watched Mo Xingchen reprimand his subordinates. After a long while, Mo Xingchen waved his hand and ordered everyone to scram. Xiao Wu might have decided to leave the family. Mo Wuxin faintly said, "So, I'm afraid that is already out of the Mo clan's territory." "How so?" Mo Xingchen widened his eyes. "She's just a little girl, wouldn't it be better for her to stay in the clan? She ran out so heartlessly. What an unfilial daughter. All these years, when has our Mo clan ever treated her unfairly? I'm so pissed off." Mo Wuxin's eyes flashed as he said, "Since ancient times, girls have always been extroverted. This has never changed." "Xiao Wu, she. Haha, Xingchen, don't tell anyone about this. Keep it a secret. Dispatch people to secretly search for them. We can't break the cooperation with the Meng clan." The marriage contract was maintained. This is the most important thing. Yes. After Mo Xingchen's anger subsided, he became worried again. But Xiao Wu ran out like this. The people of Jianghu are sinister. How dangerous would that be? So what if it's dangerous? A crippled Mo Qingwu, even if you are worried about her, what can you do? That's all she can do for the family. Mo Wuxin said coldly, "The most important thing is that you have to look at the family's interest. Even if Xiao Wu doesn't come back. Meng Luo hasn't seen Xiao Wu, right? He could just find someone to replace him. Our Mo clan should have a lot of girls of this age." "I understand the Grand Elder's meaning." Mo Xingchen was silent for a moment. "Yes, if it's a replacement, we have to act now. We have to be prepared just in case." Mo Wuxin's skinny face broke into a smile. "It won't be good if we get exposed." "Yes. I have to say, Xingchen, the way you teach your children is still lacking." Mo Wuxin heaved a long sigh. Then, he said in an exasperated tone, "Look at your son, and look at your daughter. 2 of them are fighting for power and profit, and one of them doesn't care about her upbringing. She doesn't know how to repay her family. She runs away from home when things don't go her way." With that, he let out a long sigh and left in a huff. Mo Xingchen sat there in a daze for a while, before his face suddenly contorted. He raised his palm and slammed it onto the table. With a crash, the rosewood table turned into a pile of powder. He muttered to himself, "What do you mean by 2 sons fighting for power? That's because my son is outstanding. If others wanted to fight for it, would they be able to? What do you mean my daughter only suffered a small blow? First, you beat someone down from heaven to hell, and then you fished him out of hell to make use of him. The price is a lifetime. Who would be able to bear it? Motherfucker, my mother is my daughter because I'm her father. Who do you think you are?" Mo Xingchen's face twisted. "I can scold her, but others can't." Tempage. Of course, he didn't dare to say these words out loud. "Mitch, even if I know your hardships, when you come back, this old man will still teach you a good lesson," Mo Xingchen said and left in a huff. Ever since Mo Qingwu rode a fast horse, she was afraid that her family would catch up with her and bring her back. Apart from the necessary rest, she had been riding as fast as she could, hurrying along at the fastest speed possible. After a few days, it was already getting more and more desolate, and the pedestrians on the road were also getting fewer and fewer. But how could Mo Qingwu's delicate body withstand continuous riding? Although she tried her best to bear with it, the inside of her 2 big legs had already been scraped into a bloody mess. She really couldn't ride a horse anymore. Mo Qingwu could only rest for a while, bandage her wounds, and change to walking. With every step she took, she frowned. It's said to be roaming the Jianghu, roaming the Jianghu. Roaming the Jianghu is also very tiring. Mo Qingwu wiped the sweat on her forehead, pouted her little mouth and said, "They talk about the martial world every day like it's a painting, saying that there's iron blood and gentleness. Who knew that it's not the case at all? I won't believe their words anymore. She wrinkled her nose. I didn't see anything else, just feel that there are a lot of mosquitoes. And it's very lonely. She grumbled as she hurried along. At this moment, a cloud of dust rose from behind, and a troop of cavalry swept over like a hurricane. The riders on the horses were all dressed in black armor and black robes, like a huge dark cloud, madly sweeping over. Mo Ching-Wu hurriedly pulled her thin horse to hide by the side of the road. The troop of horses rumbled past her, and the riders on the horses didn't even look at her from the corner of their eyes, and swept past like a gust of wind. Then, a gorgeous carriage, pulled by 8 handsome black horses, galloped away, their manes flying in the wind. But just as it passed by Mo Ching-Wu, suddenly someone in the carriage made a sound. Then, an order was given, and the galloping troop of cavalry in front actually stopped in an instant, and immediately turned their horses around, galloping back. In just a moment, they had already returned to their original spot, and Mo Ching-Wu and her horse were tightly surrounded. You! What are you doing? Mo Ching-Wu looked at them in panic. Creak, creak, creak. The carriage galloped back, and stopped in front of her. Mo Ching-Wu clearly felt a strong aura pouring down from the carriage, and faintly felt that there was a pair of sharp eyes looking at her from the carriage. All the riders, including the war horses, were silent at this moment. After a long time, a voice slowly came out from the carriage. The voice was cold and stern, an 11-year-old martial master. Very interesting. Mo Ching-Wu's body tensed up, and she forced herself to be afraid, and asked weakly, "Who are you?" "Who am I?" The person in the carriage laughed coldly, and suddenly said sternly, "I'm asking you now, who are you? What's your name? Where are you from? Where are you going?" The voice was cold, and revealed a sense of absolute authority, clearly showing that if you don't answer well, your head will fall to the ground. Mo Ching-Wu was intimidated by a strong aura, and almost couldn't lift a finger. Even her own thoughts seemed to be imprisoned, and she couldn't help but speak the truth. But at this moment, a feeling of resentment suddenly rushed from her chest. I was bullied in the clan, and no one looked up to me. Now that I'm out, I actually meet someone who can bully me as he pleases. Was I, Mo Ching-Wu, born to be bullied? Suddenly, a strong feeling of rebellion rushed up, and her mind suddenly became clear, and she said, "My surname is Chu. My name is Chu. Little Yang. Little Yang." The voice of the person in the carriage didn't change, but it made people feel a little amused and surprised. "Where are you from?" "Liuhe Town." "Where are you going?" "To Kanglan Battlefront." "What are you going to do there?" "Looking for someone." Mo Ching-Wu suddenly felt that she was speaking more and more fluently. "Looking for who?" "Looking for my brother." "Who is your brother?" "My brother is called Chu Dayang." The person in the carriage suddenly sneered, and said slowly, not bad at all. A 10-year-old kid can actually lie in front of me, and you're actually speaking more and more fluently." "I didn't." Mo Ching-Wu said in a panic, "I didn't lie." "Didn't lie?" The person in the carriage smiled faintly. "Since you didn't lie, then let me ask you. Are you a man or a woman?" "Man." Mo Ching-Wu's little face turned pale. "Man." The person in the carriage snorted coldly, and suddenly said in a stern voice, "Men, take off his clothes and see if he's a man or a woman." No. "I'm a woman, a woman, a woman." Mo Ching-Wu suddenly grabbed her lapel nervously, squatted on the ground, and shouted loudly. The person in the carriage seemed to laugh, and then said coldly, "You didn't lie, did you?" Mo Ching-Wu's lips trembled, and she lowered her head. "You're also not called Chu Dayang. You shouldn't be from Liuhe Town, and you shouldn't be looking for Chu Dayang." The person in the carriage said indifferently, "However, you're right to go to Kanglan Battlefront to look for someone." Mo Ching-Wu only felt all the hair on her body stand on end. "And the person you're looking for?" The person in the carriage said indifferently, "Should be called Mo Tianji, right? Isn't that right, Miss Mo Ching-Wu?" Mo Ching-Wu's hair stood on end. This person actually knows my identity. She thought that the person in the carriage was a ghost, and suddenly screamed, "Who are you?" "Chimpate." The person in the carriage didn't answer, and said, "I heard that the Mo clan's young miss ran away a few days ago, and I didn't expect to see her today. I really didn't expect that an 11-year-old girl like you would actually run 4,500 miles alone. It's really not easy." Then, he became silent, as if thinking about something, and then said crisply, "Bring her in. Such a windfall delivered to our doorstep, how can we not take it? When this matter is over, send people to separately look for Mo Tianji and Mo Xingchen, and let them each pay the ransom. The base price is 20 million taels." A voice inside said, "This isn't right. After all, she's just a child, and quite pitiful. Even if we find her, we'll just send her home." That cold and harsh voice said resolutely, "No. Who is Mo Xingchen? Why should I send him back when I find her? He doesn't deserve to take her back without spending a single cent from me. Mo Tianji also doesn't have this right." He snorted and said, "Not taking anything, that's even more not our style." Mo Qingwu was sent into the carriage, and she saw that the spacious interior of the carriage was actually covered with the snow-white fur of an ice bear. There was a tea table on both sides, and on one side of the tea table, there was a zither, and on the seat sat a gentle young girl, her starry eyes intoxicated. Opposite her was a black-clothed woman, and she was about 30 or 40 years old. She had willowy eyebrows, starry eyes, and black hair like clouds. If she were younger by a few years, she would have been called a stunning beauty of this generation. However, her face was ice-cold, and her eyes were as sharp as a knife. She didn't even need to move, but her imposing aura was as heavy as a mountain, and oppressed people until they couldn't breathe. At this moment, she was coldly sizing up Mo Qingwu, and said in a dense voice, "Miss Mo may have heard of my name, I'm called Jun Shizhu." Chapter 433. Jun Shizhu. Mo Qingwu almost jumped up. She couldn't help but open her small mouth. He was tongue-tied. This woman is Jun Shizhu? Mo Qingwu couldn't be blamed for being surprised. It was mainly because this name was too famous in the three heavens. The leader of the Dark Bamboo. The Alliance Master of the Three Heavens Underworld Forces. Jun Shizhu. In the three heavens, this name that exuded an aura of elegance and carried a bit of the style of a hermit was actually a symbol of terror. The Mo clan was rich and powerful. However, they had always kept a respectful distance from the Dark Bamboo. They had never interfered with the Dark Bamboo's business. They would retreat whenever there was a conflict of interest. They couldn't afford to offend him. I had heard that the WNLA Alliance used to be a big underworld organization. Its leader was surnamed WAN, and his name was WNLA Dan. However, WNLA Dan had turned into an egg ever since Jun Shizhu had risen to power, and the WNLA League also became the finished league. The entire WNLA League had tens of thousands of people, but they were uprooted and destroyed by the Dark Bamboo within half a year. It was said that the massacre caused the entire three heavens to tremble. However, the most surprising thing was that Jun Shizhu didn't personally go into action. The one who had attacked was the number one expert under Jun Shizhu's command, Duke Yu. Duke Yu took care of everything, no matter if it was planning intelligence or leading the troops in battle. Duke Yu was a mysterious person who wasn't inferior to Jun Shizhu. It was said that Duke Yu had single-handedly killed his way into the headquarters of the WNLA Dan. And he had chopped down the Emperor-level expert of the WNLA Dan. Then, he had killed nearly 30 King-level experts of the WNLA Dan. He had gotten tired of killing them. So, he had eaten a meal at the headquarters of the WNLA Dan. Then, he had strolled out of the headquarters in a leisurely manner. As soon as he walked out, he immediately ordered the general attack. The Wanla League was like a group of dragons without a leader, and their army was defeated like a mountain yaman. The Dark Bamboo had become the overlord of the underworld after that battle. Mo Qingwu had heard the name of Jun Shizhu more than a dozen times. So, she was already familiar with this mysterious and powerful person. But today, when he finally met him, he had a feeling that meeting him in person is far better than hearing about him. This woman is really amazing. It was such a hot day, and Mo Qingwu was in a sealed carriage. But she was sitting next to Jun Shizhu. Jun Shizhu wasn't circulating her martial power. But Mo Qingwu could still feel a slight chill. "Miss Mo, it's been hard on you." Jun Shizhu coldly looked at Mo Qingwu, and gently shook her head, I don't like children who lie. But Mo Ching-woo suddenly recalled the other party's words about kidnapping and extortion. She couldn't help but plead, but I don't want to go back to the clan, that's not for me to decide. Your father and brother have the final say. Jun Shizhu gently leaned back, and indifferently said, 20 million taels per person. So, that's a total of 40 million taels. You can go back if they want you to. But, you can stay with me if they don't want you to go back. As he spoke, he suddenly asked inadvertently, but you're the eldest daughter of the Mo clan. Why don't you want to go back? Boo-hoo. Mo Ching-woo was reminded of her sad past. Big drops of sparkling and translucent tears fell down from her eyes. I don't want to go back. Boo-hoo. If I go back, they will force me to get married. The clan needs allies. I don't want to get married. Mo Ching-woo cried very sadly. Get married? Jun Shizhu was obviously startled. Jun Lulu also opened her eyes wide in astonishment. Get married? Jun Shizhu looked at the little girl in front of her. Her body hadn't even begun to develop yet. She's so young. The clan wants her to get married in order to rope in allies. Jun Lulu's beautiful eyes couldn't help but reveal a trace of sympathy. She extended her hand, held Mo Ching-woo in her bosom, and comforted her. Don't cry, don't cry. Jun Shizhu's complexion turned from white to blue. A trace of pain appeared in her eyes. It seemed as if she had touched upon some painful memory. Her face turned ashen. She suddenly slapped the tea table in front of her with a bang, and angrily cursed, fuck Mo Xing-chen. He's forcing his 11-year-old daughter to get married. He doesn't have the least bit of humanity. Mo clan. A bunch of bastards. With a bang, a palm-shaped hole immediately appeared on the white crystal tea table. This palm shape went straight down, and a palm-shaped hole appeared on the floor of the carriage. Looking down from the hole, one could see that the ground was rapidly receding along with the carriage's advance. Jun Lulu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She rolled her eyes. My elder sister is good at everything. But, she curses people whenever her temper flares up. Moreover, she curses in a very manly manner. Jun Shizhu's complexion turned ice-cold. Her chest heaved up and down. It was clear that she was angry because of what Mo Ching-woo had said. In fact, the Mo clan only wanted Mo Ching-woo to get engaged. This was completely different from getting married. But, what did Mo Ching-woo know now? Jun Shizhu felt that the Mo clan was worse than a dog or a pig in her heart. What does it mean for an 11-year-old girl to get married? Needless to say, this is inhumane. Moreover, this is the biological daughter of the Mo clan's clanlord, Mo Xing-chen. Her biological father is forcing his daughter to get married at the age of 11 for the sake of the clan's interests. This is a bastard to the extreme. Elder sister, you see. Jun Lulu's heart was overflowing with sympathy. She felt Mo Ching-woo's thin and weak body trembling in her arms. And, she couldn't help but feel a strong desire to protect her. Humph. The anger in Jun Shizhu's eyes receded like a tide. She insipidly said, we'll carry out the original plan. But, Mo Tianyun will also be involved. Let Mo Xing-chen, Mo Tianji, and Mo Tianyun send 20 million each. Tell them that one of them must take out all the money. No, all three of them must take out the money. Kill the hostage if even one of them is missing. Ah! Jun Lulu was gobsmacked. Wash her face. Let me take a look. Jun Shizhu's eyes narrowed. What's a good little girl like this for? A trace of amazement flashed through Jun Shizhu's eyes when Mo Ching-woo came back after washing her face. She's really a beauty. Hey! She suddenly looked at Mo Ching-woo's eyebrows as she said this. Young Miss Mo, come here. Let me take a look at you. Jun Shizhu beckoned her. Oh. Mo Ching-woo timidly complied. Then, she obediently walked over. She was young, and had been captured. But, she had a clear feeling that these two women wouldn't harm her. Jun Shizhu looked at her, and finally nodded in satisfaction. Then, she felt strange again. It's strange. Her eyebrows are full of yin. This is a 3-yin body. So, she must have 3 yin meridians. Are the people of the Mo clan blind? Are they all fucking senile? Such a genius with 3 yin meridians wants to get married at the age of 11? I really don't get it. My 3 yin meridians are already crippled. Mo Qingwu timidly said. Crippled? Nonsense. Zhang Shizhu was startled. Then, she berated her. It's really crippled, here I am. Mo Qingwu stretched out her hand and pointed. The people of the Black Devil clan once chopped my 3 yin meridians. And my 3 yin meridians were crippled. Oh! How can your eyebrows still gather yin when your 3 yin meridians are crippled? Zhang Shizhu pulled her over, and placed her hand on her wrist. Then, she operated her martial power to examine her. She couldn't help but nod. Your 3 yin meridians are indeed crippled. No wonder the Mo clan gave up. But why is this so strange? She withdrew her hand, and frowned. She pondered hard. This shouldn't be the case. Her 3 yin meridians are crippled. So, the yin energy on her eyebrows should dissipate immediately. So, why hasn't hers dissipated? She thought for a while. Then, she grabbed Mo Qingwu's hand, and examined it carefully. A long while passed. Then, she suddenly withdrew her hand at lightning speed. She sucked in a cold breath. Did someone treat you? Yes. Mo Qingwu innocently blinked her eyes. Who? I heard from elder brother Chu that person is called Du Shiqing. Mo Qingwu almost blurted out Chu Yang's name. Du Shiqing. Zhang Shizhu rolled her eyes. Who else could it be if he didn't have this ability? No. Mo Qingwu also blinked her eyes in astonishment. Really, no. That's not right. Zhang Shizhu frowned and pondered. Elder sister, what's wrong? Zhang Lulu asked with a smile. Someone put a trace of a strange power in her damaged 3 yin meridians. And, it's because of this power that her 3 yin meridians are still intact even though they've been crippled. This will increase her pain a lot. But, she'll recover her exceptional talent once she's cured. She frowned in bewilderment. Her 3 yin meridians would have been destroyed forever if it hadn't been for this mysterious power. But, this power clearly left a trace of hope for her recovery even though this hope is extremely slim. Hope? Zhang Lulu was puzzled. It's equivalent to having no hope. Anyway, I can't think of any solution with my knowledge and experience. It would be useless even if she were to eat all kinds of wonderful medicines. Zhang Shizhu knitted her brows. But, why would that person leave such a trace of hope? He's so powerful. So, he should have known that there's no hope. Powerful? Zhang Lulu was startled. This was the first time that she had heard her elder sister say these words. Zhang Shizhu would rather break than bend. She had never admitted that there were any powerful people in the 3 heavens. However, she had willingly said these words this time. Powerful. Yes, powerful. Zhang Shizhu solemnly said, the person who left her this trace of hope has used the power of his spirit. This is different from the world's vitality. Moreover, the degree of strength of this spirit. Zhang Shizhu took a deep breath and said, I'll be far inferior to him even if I practice for 1,000 years. I'll be far inferior to him even if I practice for 1,000 years. Zhang Lulu was completely shocked. She knew what level her elder sister was at now. But, even her elder sister had said I'll be far inferior to him even if I practice for 1,000 years. So, the strength of this person who had left Mo Qingwu a trace of hope could be imagined. Supreme. Zhang Lulu only had these 2 words left in her heart. Not necessarily. He may not necessarily be a supreme, Zhang Shizhu said in a heavy tone. Then, a doubtful and uncertain look flashed in her eyes. In fact, there was even a trace of perplexity in her eyes. She then said word by word, this kind of spirit power. I'm afraid even a supreme can't do it. PFFF. Cough 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 cough. Zhang Lulu was nervously drinking a mouthful of water. But, she suddenly choked when she heard these words. And, she coughed violently. Even a supreme can't do it. These words are unimaginable. Chapter 434. Little girl, you're not deceiving me, right? Zhang Shizhu narrowed her eyes and looked at Mo Qingwu. At this moment, he suddenly felt a sense of dread towards this pitiful little girl. This little girl isn't simple. How important is the power of the spirit? The power of the spirit is the foundation of everything for a powerhouse. But, a powerhouse who can't even reach the level of a supreme level expert has consumed his own spirit power to leave a glimmer of hope for this little girl. The reason for this is thought-provoking. Jun Lulu wasn't the only one who was flabbergasted. Even Jun Shiju's heart was in turmoil. Think about it carefully. Is it true that no one has treated you? Jun Shiju stared at Mo Qingwu's eyes. Mo Qingwu blankly shook her head. Her eyes were clear and innocent. Jun Shiju was defeated by her clear eyes. She sat back on the brocade couch and rubbed her brows. Then, she muttered to herself, "That's right. Little girl, you wouldn't have felt anything if such a powerhouse didn't want you to know about it. Then, everything would be over. Elder sister, I've thought of a possibility." Jun Lulu finally finished coughing. She frowned and pondered. Then, her eyes suddenly lit up. "What possibility?" Jun Shiju asked in a heavy voice. "I guess, a peerless genius must have passed by after little sister Mo got injured. Moreover, he must have come to her rescue." Jun Lulu analyzed, but this genius immediately discovered that even he couldn't do anything about the destruction of her 3 yin meridians. So, for the sake of the face problem, yes, for the sake of the face problem, he didn't appear. Jun Shiju frowned and pondered. She then understood everything. Similarly, for the sake of the face problem, this genius left behind a wisp of his spirit power. And, he went to the ends of the earth to find a solution. He would have come back to help her heal her 3 yin meridians if he had found a solution? I think so. Jun Lulu nodded affirmatively. It's reasonable to think so. Jun Shiju looked at Mo Qingwu and suddenly asked, "Young Miss Mo, you didn't return to the clan. Did you not understand the clan's decision?" Mo Qingwu tightly pursed her lips. Her eyes flashed with hatred. "Do you hate them?" The look on Jun Shiju's face became even more profound. Mo Qingwu suddenly remembered her father's heartlessness, her mother's helplessness, her elder brother's persecution, the great elder's callousness, and the heart-wrenching pain of having her treasured saber taken away. She couldn't help but shed tears. She couldn't say the word hate, but the look in her eyes had already explained everything. "Tell me about it." Jun Shiju's complexion softened. Jun Lulu lovingly held Mo Qingwu in her arms and comforted her in a soft voice. Mo Qingwu's eyes turned red. She couldn't help but start to sob. She felt Jun Lulu's kindness. But, she also felt that her heart was full of grievances. So, she almost couldn't breathe. So, she started to speak intermittently. The more Jun Shiju heard, the weirder her complexion became. In fact, it seemed as if she was rolling around while holding her belly. Ha 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 ha. Jun Shiju looked at Mo Qingwu and sized her up from left to right. It seemed as if she had found a peerless treasure. She couldn't help but burst into loud laughter. "Elder sister, what are you laughing at?" Jun Lulu was puzzled. She was somewhat rebuking Mo Qingwu at the same time. She was overflowing with sympathy as she listened to Mo Qingwu's story. But, she hadn't expected that her elder sister Jun Shiju would laugh so happily. "This little sister is so pitiful. But, you're still laughing while listening to such a cruel experience. You don't have any sympathy, right?" Mo Qingwu puffed up her cheeks and looked at Jun Shiju angrily. "Ha ha. I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing. Ha ha ha, I can't help it." Jun Shiju kept laughing. And, she stopped after a while. Jun Lulu and Mo Qingwu were looking at her as if they were looking at a monster. "I am laughing. The Mo clan is going to bang their heads against the wall in regret this time. Ha ha, that old bastard Mo Wuxian always thinks that he's smart. He calculates this and that every day. He even calculates his own scheme. Mo Xingchen's face is even more shrewd. He thinks that his wisdom is unparalleled. He doesn't care about anyone in the upper 3 heavens." Jun Shiju was laughing so hard that she was rocking back and forth. This was the first time she had laughed so happily in so many years. It wasn't because of anything else, it was because this matter was simply too hilarious. These 2 bastards must have never thought that they would have taken away an opportunity to lead the Mo clan to the upper 3 heavens. They would have forced away the number one treasure of the upper and lower heavens. Jun Lulu thought for a while, and couldn't help but giggle. Jun Shiju's words were very reasonable. Which expert had left behind such a wisp of his spirit power? It wasn't because he was bored. His unwillingness to admit defeat in dealing with difficult and complicated diseases obviously couldn't explain the purpose of leaving behind such a precious spirit power. There must have been only one purpose. He had taken a fancy to Mo Ching Wu. Or, he had taken a fancy to Mo Ching Wu's aptitude. Therefore, he would have come back. It would have been a perfect ending as long as he came back. The Mo clan would have ascended to the heavens if they had continued to dote on Mo Ching Wu until that expert came back. After all, they had taken away the bloodline of that expert. So, how could they not give him some benefits? Such an expert would have been enough for the Mo clan to enjoy endlessly even if he had only left behind a little something between his fingers. Moreover, Mo Ching Wu would have acted coquettishly for the sake of their old relationship. If she acted coquettishly for her beloved disciple, that would have been a peerless weapon to deal with such an expert. He would have been able to do whatever he wanted in the upper three heavens with his strength far surpassing that of a supreme-level expert. He would have been invincible with just one hand. In fact, he wouldn't have needed to do anything. He would have only needed to say a few words, and the Mo clan would have become a super clan of the upper three heavens. The Mo clan would have been able to stand on equal footing with the dominant clans of the upper three heavens with Mo Ching Wu around. Moreover, Mo Ching Wu's path of cultivation would have been smooth since she had such an abnormal master. It wouldn't have been long. The Mo clan would have been the overlord of the entire upper three heavens by that time. Moreover, no one would have dared to provoke them. And, there was only one reason for all of this: Mo Ching Wu. Mo Ching Wu could be regarded as the number one treasure of the upper and lower heavens from this point of view. Jun Shiju wasn't exaggerating about this. However, the Mo clan had ruthlessly offended this treasure that had originally belonged to them. They hadn't comforted her after her 3 yin meridians had been destroyed. Instead, they'd hit her when she was down. Moreover, they'd snatched her treasured saber. Jun Shiju was now convinced that Mo Ching Wu's saber was the number one divine saber in the upper three heavens. How could a gift from a mysterious expert be bad? This saber was clearly a hint from that mysterious peerless expert to the Mo clan. There will be many benefits as long as you take good care of Mo Ching Wu. This was a very obvious matter. Otherwise, who would have given such a shocking treasured saber to a little girl? It was a pity that those people of the Mo clan hadn't been able to detect the existence of the spiritual power. So, they'd ignored such an obvious hint. They'd been blinded by greed, and had snatched the treasured saber. This motherfucker was simply trying to hang himself. He was simply impatient to the extreme. Moreover, he'd gone from bad to worse. He'd even forced an 11-year-old girl like Mo Ching Wu to get married. Perhaps, the Mo clan wouldn't be able to survive if that expert were to find out about this. It had to be said that Jun Shiju's guess was completely opposite. The so-called peerless expert that they'd guessed didn't exist. The spiritual power that had been left behind in Mo Ching Wu's body was a wisp of power that the sword spirit had left behind to preserve Mo Ching Wu's 3 yin meridians. Mo Ching Wu didn't know about this. Chu Yang also didn't know about it. The sword spirit had done this so that the Tribulation Sword Master wouldn't have any regrets in his life. Especially, this was Mo Ching Wu. She was the person Chu Yang was most obsessed with. The Tribulation Sword Master had been reborn for Mo Ching Wu. How could the sword spirit dare to neglect? However, Jun Shiju's guess was completely correct from a certain point of view. That was because Chu Yang was the Tribulation Sword Master. Would Chu Yang treat his father-in-law's family unfairly as long as the Mo clan treated Mo Ching Wu well? Then, the Mo clan would have a place in the upper three heavens when it underwent a revolution. There was no doubt about this. However, things had come to this point now. Chu Yang was already giving face to Mo Ching Wu by not exterminating the Mo clan. So, how could he give the Mo clan any benefits? According to Chu Yang's character, at least half of the Mo clan's people would have to die in order to barely vent his anger. Therefore, it could be said that Jun Shiju's words were inadvertently correct. I'm thinking. What would the expressions on the faces of Mo Wuxin and Mo Xingchen if they knew about this? Zhang Shizhu laughed wildly. Mo Wuxin would certainly die of anger on the spot. Mo Xingchen's face would also be very wonderful. Unfortunately, I won't be able to see it. She laughed for a while. Then, she stroked her chin and looked at Mo Qingwu. Then, she gently smiled and said, "Such a treasure has fallen into my hands from the sky. How could I let it go? It would be intolerable if I let it go." These words were purely calculated. Moreover, they shouldn't have been spoken in front of Mo Qingwu. However, Zhang Shizhu didn't seem to have the slightest scruple. She had just said it out loud. Even Zhang Lulu was startled by this point. This little girl looks delicate and pitiful. But, she's very crafty. Do you think that she won't be able to guess it if I don't say it? It would seem that we're sinister if we don't say it. It's better to say it openly. I want to bask in the glory. What's wrong with that? This is an open and above-board matter. So, why do I have to be so sneaky? Zhang Shizhu mischievously smiled and looked at Mo Qingwu. "Miss Mo, don't you think so?" Mo Qingwu had been listening attentively. She couldn't help but nod in agreement. Yes. She knew that something was wrong after she had finished speaking. But, Zhang Shizhu had already laughed. Mo Qingwu had indeed thought so in her heart. Zhang Shizhu's analysis had been right in front of her. Mo Qingwu was extremely intelligent. So, how could she not understand the importance of this? She would have felt awkward if Zhang Shizhu hadn't said it. However, Mo Qingwu felt somewhat relieved in her heart now that she had said it so straightforwardly. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.